like to call this meeting of the Woonsocket City Council to order for Monday, March 7th, 2022. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Cournoyer.
Here.
Councilwoman Gonzalez. Here. Councilman Gillette.
Here.
Councilwoman Sierra.
Here.
Councilman Susie. Councilman Ward.
Here.
President Gendron.
Here. Could you please stand for the prayer and the pledge?
God our Father, we ask that you send your blessing upon this city and upon this council. Guide us in our efforts, increase our motivation, and strengthen our resolve to build a better community and ensure a brighter future for the city of Woonsocket. This we ask in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nobody's what? Just came in.
Good?
It doesn't want to start.
The first item on the agenda is a public hearing which will be conducted live tonight and on Zoom. So we're just trying to get the Zoom link operating, so if you can bear with us, please. Yes.
Looks like we're going. I just don't.
We're good?
It's recording.
Okay. Madam Clerk, first item on the agenda is a public hearing.
22 LC 07, public hearing on transfer location of secondhand dealers merchandise license by the Gold Loan Advance Inc., doing business as the Gold Loan Company from 1173 Social Street to 1102 Social Street.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak for or against the request for this application? Is there anyone on Zoom? If you could please raise your hand if you'd like to comment for or against. And it appears that there's only one individual on the Zoom call, so there is nobody that will be speaking tonight. Is there anyone else in this audience that would like to speak for or against this application? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to close the public hearing.
Move, Jim.
Motion made by Councilman Cournoyer, seconded by Councilman Ward to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and the public hearing is closed. Madam Clerk, if you can end the Zoom call.
We're all set.
And we are live again. Madam Clerk, agenda for Board of License Commissioners.
22 LC 07, application on transfer location of secondhand dealers merchandise license by the Gold Loan Advance Inc., doing business as the Gold Loan Company from 1173 Social Street to 1102 Social Street.
Motion approved, Jim.
Motion made by Councilman Cournoyer, seconded by Councilwoman Sierra and Councilman Gillette. Comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and 22 LC 07 is approved 6-0.
22 LC 08, application of licenses and renewal of licenses.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the following licenses for new licenses, Class F1 liquor with entertainment, holiday, street vendor, and tobacco. Also renewals for automobile junkyard, holiday, quarterly entertainment, secondhand dealer auto, secondhand dealer merchandise, street vendor, and tobacco.
Motion made by
Second.
Councilman Gillette, seconded by Councilman Ward. Comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and 22 LC 08 is approved 6-0. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Motion made by Councilman Ward,
Second.
seconded by Councilwoman Sierra.
I'd like to take one out, if you don't mind.
Councilman Cournoyer?
Just bear with me. 22 CO 21
22 CO 21.
regarding the CDBG Home and American Rescue Plan.
Any other items to take up separately? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the consent agenda as submitted with the exception of 22 CO 21 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Can we have a motion to receive 22 CO 21?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Cournoyer, seconded by Councilman Ward to receive 22 CO 21. Comments?
Council President,
Councilman Cournoyer.
Director A, I want to thank you for your communication and the layout, the timeline and so forth. And the only question I have is, how many applications did you receive?
There is 10 received in the office that are all under review at this time.
10, okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Any other, can I take 1 minute? Director, on that same question, how does this compare with previous years of applications for CDBG?
Well, I had to ask the office staff, of course, but it's more than what we've had in the past.
Excellent, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Hearing none, to receive 22 CO 21, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and 22 CO 21 is received 6-0. Moving back to the approval and the correction of the minutes of the special meeting held February 16th and the regular meeting held February 21st.
Motion approved, Jim.
Motion made by Councilman Cournoyer.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Ward. Are there any changes or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And the minutes from the February 16th special meeting and the February 21st regular meeting are received as presented on a 6-0 vote. Councilman,
Councilman, Council President?
yeah, if,
Yeah,
Councilman
I'd like
Cournoyer.
to make a motion to move 22R27 regarding the energy up and out of order and take it up next.
Motion to bring 22R27 out of order. Motion made by Councilman Cournoyer.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Gillette and Councilwoman Sierra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And 22R27 is before us, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the Director of Public Works and the Finance Director to contract with EDF Energy Services for 32 months of fixed index energy costs and 7 months of fixed electricity supply costs currently priced to be a combined rate of .076 per kilowatt hours.
Motion to approve for discussion.
Motion made by Councilman Cournoyer, seconded by Councilwoman Gonzalez. Director, you had told me that the representatives from Best Practice were here this evening,
Yes, they are.
and that there would be some changes that they'd like to discuss.
Yes.
So I believe Mr. Murray?
Mr. President, would
Could
you
please
have
state-
another handout for you?
Yeah, if you, before we do anything, if you could please state your name and address for the record for the clerk, please.
Okay, Bill Murray, 80 Pound Hill Road, Cumberland, Rhode Island.
Welcome. And this strapping young lad that's with you this evening.
Yep, TJ Salisbury, 446 Broadway, Providence, Rhode Island.
Thank you very much. And please, if you want to, I can pass it along for you. All right, thank you.
So, Mr. President, you will see a slight change. And the point, and TJ can fill you in on it, the point being is that it's very crucial to get this thing done with the market the way it is right now. It's changing on a daily basis. And so we had a slight change from what we had talked to the administration on, and we will give you have the new information on that. So if you want to have any questions about the change, we'd be happy to try to answer it.
Yeah, I will open the floor to the rest of the council, and then if I do have a question, if nobody else. Any questions?
Council President?
Councilman Cournoyer.
So it looks like, hang on a second here, just bear with me. It looks like direct energy came in a little lower at this point than EDF. Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
Yep.
And the price on the 7-month dropped from 0.025 to 0.024. Is that correct?
On
And
the
change.
index, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And is direct energy, is it across the board? It looks like they're lower across the board. Is that correct?
Yeah, yep. So when we let them know we were refreshing to,
Yep.
today, they came in a little bit more aggressive.
Okay. And for the administration, I guess I'm a little confused. Help me out. When we talk about doing 32 months fixed index energy costs and 7 months fixed electricity supply, what's the difference between the 7 months and the 32 months? What do we, help me understand better?
So the 7-month is just the energy piece.
If you can just speak into the mic, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the 7-month is just the energy piece, and that's the most volatile piece right now. The 32-month is the kind of the base part of the agreement, so your capacity costs, Rhode Island RPS costs, and ISO New England ancillary costs.
So when I look at this package you just gave us, when I look at the direct energy under 7 months, do I need to go to the fixed page to look at 32 months?
No, so on page, if you look at page 2 of the handout, that's the price right there. I just included the fixed bids as well for your guys' reference.
Okay.
There is like a slight premium to go fixed all in, and then the energy when you go out on the 32-month term is a little bit, or a good amount higher than it is on the 7th. So that's where we proposed the layer hedging strategy that we spoke of last time, where we'll monitor the market on a daily basis and look for a time to hedge the energy in the outer years.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
Council President,
Councilman Ward.
if you could, for the public's information, is define for us the difference between an indexed price and a fixed price.
Yeah, so the indexed price is just the base cost minus, it's all the components of your electricity price besides the energy portion. So it's capacity, RPS, and ancillary costs. And then a fixed price just includes that that energy piece as well.
Supply.
Yeah, so it would be one price throughout the whole contract. This contract, we would lock in the price for 7 months, and then with the hopes to hedge energy when it's lower for the remaining.
So we're locking
25
in
months.
which price for 7 months?
You're locking in the 32-month index,
Index, 32-month index?
and then 7 months of the energy
Okay, and then after 7 months, we'll be looking to
to lock
lock in the energy price
Yes.
for the balance of the 32 months?
Yep.
To match up the timing?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
That's basically what we're doing with a number of municipalities, especially with this uncertain market. So it gives you that protection.
I guess my question is, with the uncertainty in the market, are you speculating therefore that in 7 months we'll be in a better position or a worse position?
Well, so today, energy in January and February was trading at like 20 cents.
Well, I know it tends to be higher in the winter months.
Yeah, But so we're thinking that right now, with everything that's happening over in Ukraine, that there's a lot of speculation and fear priced into the market at the moment. We think that when the true costs get realized and everybody kind of takes a step back, we think we're going to see better buying opportunities for this coming winter and into 2023 sometime this summer.
Okay,
All set, Councilman?
all set.
Any other questions, comments?
I do but you go ahead, I'll go for the second time.
Well, I just wanted a better understanding. So when we talk about the indexed portion, that is your portion, the best energy portion with the 32-month period, or is everything going to be with direct?
Everything's going to be with direct energy.
So we're looking at a 32-month cost of $763,000 for the indexed portion.
Yep. Yeah. That's on on page 2. Yeah. So that's just for the index portion without the energy.
But then the energy portion will be an additional $637,000
for
the 7-month period.
No. So that's if you did a fixed price. If you go to page the rate overview, I think it's that has the kind of breakdown of the 32-month versus the utility rate. That all-in rate is $801. I don't have the total cost there, but what I do have is the difference versus the fixed cost.
So what, if we're going with a 7-month, but it's not a fixed cost?
So the first 7 months of it are going to be fixed.
Okay.
But because the index portion is cheaper 32 months out,
Yeah.
that kind of difference is where you see the difference in price between a 32-month fixed, a 7-month fixed and a 32-month index with a 7-month energy hedge.
Okay. At the last meeting, you were going to get some of our current figures.
Yep.
Where are those?
So on that same page, it's on that savings analysis portion in the bottom. Mm-hmm. It has the fixed option versus the old Constellation rate. So that was at 707. That contract ended in December of 2021. So I have the index and then just the fixed option, the comparison there, as well as what we're seeing for savings against the utility right now, for what's known.
Okay. Councilman Cournoyer?
Sorry I'm still confused mildly, and I'll get caught up, but, so the bill's broken out between electricity and then all the other nonsense, right? The capacity and all that other stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are we locking in? What are we going to be, if I look at page 2, are we locking in the indexed for 7 months?
No, the index would be locked in for 32 months.
Okay, so we're locking in the 32 months, and that's just the electricity, correct?
That's the capacity, the RPS. That's everything besides the electricity.
Oh, everything besides the electricity.
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry, my note was, okay.
Complete package.
Okay, so everything besides electricity. And it's the electricity that's going to have the volatility.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're locking in for 32 months on everything but the electricity. And then are we locking in the electricity for 7 months? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And is that on page 3?
I
Or
guess
is that also page?
that's the delta, the 801 minus. So that was around 5.4, and then when it becomes an all-in rate, you have to include line losses. So there's about a 4% line loss factor that's included in there.
Sorry, I'm not seeing your 5.4. I want to make sure I'm looking at the right pages, so.
Council
Yeah.
President.
What page is the electrical cost on?
So I didn't include that. I had just included what the all-in number was going to be for the first 7 months, because that's how we're looking at it before. I have those numbers on my computer. I can send them after this.
Can I ask for clarification on something? So
Go ahead,
are we
Mayor.
looking at this for indexed? Is that what everyone is looking at? Right here, where it says indexed 32 months.
Mayor, do you have one of the new, he's got, do you want one of these so that you're looking at the same thing that we are?
Just gave it to you.
We just,
It should have today's date on the
Okay,
top
all right.
left.
3.7, right. So this says indexed, and it says indexed 32 months, rate .0022080, estimated fixed budget 763,544, which is capacity, which is everything but electricity. Is that accurate?
Yep.
that's what this
Okay.
says.
So then the electricity, you're saying, I'm sorry, can I have the floor right now?
Yeah, I already,
Okay, all right.
yes, yes.
And then under the fixed, which then looks like this, I'm assuming, is that
Well, that's what I
correct?
asked, and they said no. So that's why I'm
Well,
not,
So that's the fixed all-in bids. So that would
What
be
does all in mean?
that would be the index plus the electricity piece.
Electricity plus index.
So it's the capacity, which is the indexed, because
Yeah.
you said indexed is capacity, which is everything but electricity, and the cost of electricity
Correct.
combined together.
Yep.
So you're saying the first 7 months for everything all in, which is capacity, which is everything but electricity, and the electricity will be 637,389?
No, that would be on just if we did a fixed 7-month contract. So the price would be 801. I can do the math here quick. It would be about 670,000 for the first 7 months. It's a little bit cheaper than the 7-month fixed rate. So the 7-month fixed rate, if you did a fixed all-in contract for 7 months, would be 843. If you just did the 32-month index plus the 7-month energy, it would be 801.
So what is the fixed 7-month, 637,389?
That's just the cost if you did just a fixed all-in contract for 7 months and didn't do the 32-month index.
So should we do just the 7 months and revisit everything and lock in for the lesser amount?
Well, it's a little bit more to do it for that. It's about 3 mil more to
well,
do.
Mayor, let me just, before we, I mean, I want to get their explanation, but Mr. Luber and Director Chamberlain spoke to me before the meeting, so maybe they can shed some light on what I'm not understanding, or it doesn't seem like anybody's understanding, but maybe they can help.
So from what I understand is, one, prices have gone up since last week overall. So last week, when we wrote the legislation, it was 7.6 cents. Now it's around 8. There's two components. There's a what I call more of a fixed component, as Councilman Cournoyer indicated, that has capacity built in, renewable energy charge. That depends on how much peak hours you're using, whatever your ratio. If your peak hours are a higher ratio, you pay more. I think going out 32 months kind of locks in our capacity now, which will change once our streetlights go in, because right now we have a higher amount of off-peak uses and charges. The streetlights are at night. When the LED streetlights go in, that number will drop, and I guess our indexed charge will go up because we'll be using less off-peak hours. So I think the plan is to go 32 months on that semi-fixed piece, knowing that when the streetlights go in, that will go up and we'll lock in the lower rate now. The variable piece, it's crazy. It's going up, or it hasn't gone down. It's going up every day. It went down, as Councilman Ward said, after the winter months, but it's pretty volatile. So the plan is to lock in on a 7-month on that. And then when prices hopefully go down to the end of 7 months, figure something else out. So right now the overall price is around 8 cents, right? That could change tomorrow.
Council President?
So it's 8 cents per kilowatt hour.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
So as I look at the two different, the index and the fix, I think I understand now the difference between the two. But when you look at the best bids on the index, you see how the rate progressively goes down as you lock in more months. But when you're looking at the best bids, the 7-month is lower than any of the other months of the rate. And I think that's the part that I don't
And I think I'm no
understand.
expert on electricity, but I think when you go out further, you include some winter months. So the pricing's higher in the winter months, so it's, yeah. So you have more of those influencing your per kilowatt hour price. So in the 7 months, you're taking it from now to right before the next winter, and I mean, that could change.
So, Councilman,
Director, yes.
I'm going to ask a foolish question, but won't be the first.
I am in charge of foolish questions.
Is fossil fuel have a direct impact on this?
Yeah, so this is mainly trading with how natural gas has been trending.
Right, so
is the main
you
driver.
think in 7 months the price is going to be cheaper?
Well, so we think that right now there's a lot of risk premiums priced into the winter months. That doesn't mean that gas is going to come down, the commodity piece of gas, but the cost to deliver gas into New England right now is about $30 a decatherm. And the way our generators are pricing our electricity in those winter months is basically saying that every day is going to be a full demand day almost. And so those higher premiums are priced into our market right now. And that's why for December of 2022, or for January of 23 and February of 23, just the energy piece of the puzzle is 20 something cents right now. And we think that will come down, not down to like 8 cents or 9 cents, but we do think there is a little bit that can come off of that piece of the puzzle right now. There's a lot
Crude oil doesn't speculate, it doesn't play a role in this?
not as much, no.
Not as much.
But it's mainly driven by natural gas, and that's the big driver right now because of our dependence on natural gas in New England.
Well, we're self-dependent, we could be self-sufficient, but we're not. So, which is self-induced. But if you think energy prices are going to come down in the next 7 months, I got a terrific piece of land to sell you. Because this guy is not going to drop the prices. It's not going to help us. So I'm a little nervous. I'm not as comfortable about just doing the 7 months. I don't know if there's a better option. Maybe the math people can But I am very uneasy about speculating that these prices are going to, in fact, drop in 7 months. So I'll go on the record as saying that.
Is it because of the timing with the election that you pick 7 months, because it happens to fall in line with the midterm election?
No, so if you go to the last page, so this thing here, so it doesn't have to be 7 months where we revisit this. We price this energy component daily, and this is kind of something I had put together for Pawtucket. It has their base rate, and then we just track energy on a daily, and we kind of give them budgeting numbers. And so what we'll do is we'll track your energy price as soon as this contract's locked in for the unhedged portion on a daily basis. So it might not be 7 months. It might only be a month, month and a half. But as soon as we see that drop, having this base agreement allows us to act swiftly and get that, this winter locked in or the next winter. And we can look to break that up however you guys think is best for your budgeting purposes. But we track this on a daily basis, and it's not something that we just pick a date set, 7 months from now and look at it. It's something that once we see that dip, we want to be able to act quickly.
All right, Councilman Cournoyer, you had the floor. No, but you weren't, I kind of got away from you, and I'll go to Councilman Ward next when you're done.
Okay, so again, just to reiterate, on the indexed, the 32 months would be everything except the electricity. And that would be a locked-in price, correct, for 32 months?
Yep.
Okay. And then what you're suggesting is that we lock in the electricity for 7 months,
Yep.
right? I'd be inclined to go longer, because I'm with the director on this. I know that the providers that you talked about in the winter months are high or whatever, but does that actually, how much of that actually takes into account the actual, how far out are they locked in on the purchase of gas?
So they would hedge entirely if they would fully hedge the power on the day we bought it. So those risk premiums are baked into that energy right now.
Oh, I hear what Councilman Ward has to say, but I would be inclined to do the 24 months on the fix, but I could be convinced to do the 7 as well.
Councilman Ward.
Council President, thank you. I want some clarity because we're talking about the 2.208 for the index, but then the 0.08426, which you're saying includes the indexed component in it. So basically our price for the 7 months for the electricity that would be buying through direct energy would be the 0.084260 per kilowatt hour, period. Nothing added to that, just the 084.
If you did a 7 month fixed contract, yes.
For the 7 months, okay. Now, for informational purposes, I believe it's been my experience that when the League of Cities and Towns goes out to bid, they routinely decide the successful bidder and put it out there for people to jump onto in September, because apparently that is the end of the slow period, and everything in the future is speculative, where when you get to the end of the winter season, there's no speculation, there's experience, and so they rely more on experience, and I think it taints some of their projections and why you'd end up with a higher speculative rate off into the future. Generally, it bottoms in September or October, but September generally. That's been my experience dealing with the interlocal on these matters. So I don't necessarily have a problem with 7 months. I think 7 months is not an unreasonable period of time. However, I'm a little confused about the fact that if we're tying into first off, the fact that something changed from EDS to direct energy in the span of that feels a little awkward, because if we commit to direct energy here for the index price of the 0.02208 that will be added to whatever the energy component is once we get beyond the 7 months, are we not therefore committed to direct energy for the supply anyway?
Yeah, you would have to purchase
So
this.
we're at the mercy of whatever their price is for the remainder period at that time, and it's really not something that we could go out and solicit any additional pricing from other companies because we're tied into a contract already, correct?
Yeah, the forward curves are available to all suppliers, and we have access to forward pricing data as well. So we can use that to keep suppliers honest. I get what you're saying, where it is, I guess it can be a little scary. You have to trust Direct Energy, but they do have, they're aware of the fact that all this.
I'm not afraid of anything anymore. I just bought a tank full of gas this afternoon.
But they are aware, and they
The
know
rich
that
one on the council.
All I'm saying is, we commit to this, we're committing to Direct Energy.
Correct.
For the entire 32-month period. So that's a consideration here, because then it's about getting the best price from Direct Energy in September.
You're really relying on us, Councilman, for the fact of we will be your manager for this once the contract is signed, and that's where our strength has been.
I just wanted to make sure I
Yeah,
understood
okay.
the sequence
No, I just wanted to
of
make-
how things were working, what
Yep.
we were paying now, what we will be paying in 7 months, and we are, I guess, at this point, we would be speculating, is really what we would be doing, that the combined price in 7 months will be something at or less than the current 32-month fixed price offer of .108070.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we can't know that until we get to September.
Yeah, or we see a better time to hedge.
See, that's the other key. That whenever we can hedge, we will hedge on this. Because again, you're besides buying this energy package, you're buying a manager to watch this every day.
Right. And then, but then once we get to that September and tie
Right.
in the balance of 24 months or whatever that number is, the balance of the contract, we're going to be fixing in a price for the balance of the contract term.
Right.
Okay. Just needed to understand. And I think to my council colleagues, I would say if you look at the variability among the prices, it is not exactly a broad range. So I don't know how you doing differently are going to have any consequential difference in what you get to when September comes. But again, as I say, my experience has been having seen the September price show up and waiting till October because I had to wait for a council meeting, I ended up paying a higher price because it was outside of that bottom period that seems to be the end of the summer. Just
Thank you.
my take on it.
So help me understand here, because now Councilman Ward has given me more questions.
That's my job.
When you first presented this, it was presented as Best Energy, which is your company, is that correct?
Yeah.
That's correct.
But what we're signing on to is with Direct Energy.
They're the ones with the contract. What Best Energy is your manager.
But you
Where
can,
they-
once we sign this contract, you
Correct.
can only manage with Direct Energy.
Yes.
Correct. But again, we have the power, because of all the business we do, to manage it in a way that if we have to hedge with them, in other words, we know how to talk to them versus, somebody, say, somebody in Pawtucket that's doing it or whatever. We know that's our business. We have, I explained it before, we have electric boat, the Rhode Island airports, a number of municipalities, because of the management piece of the puzzle. Again, you're not paying us for that because once the contract's signed, that's where we get our fee. So, but you can see how, with all these numbers, how we've played back and forth to make sure you get the best number. So we're really your negotiator is probably the best way to put it.
And I believe that you're our negotiator, you're our best, you're the face that we put to this
Right.
deal that we've talked about. But once we sign on to this, we're signed on for 32 months with Direct Energy.
Correct.
With you, but it's only with Direct Energy.
But then we deal with Direct Energy
Yep.
to make sure
But only them.
only them at that point, because
All right.
we make it a deal, that's why they're locking in, because that's how they lock into the price.
All right. So, Mayor, I'm going to kind of throw this into your lap a little bit because your administration's worked on this far longer than we have. This is what the resolution we have before us is for 32 and 7. Is that where you, with the director and Mr. Luber, and is this where we want to end up?
So first of all, I have a follow-up question from your questions. So if we learn of better rates, if we lock into this 32 months and we learn that there are better rates out there, we have no option. We're stuck with this. Is that correct? Yes.
Yeah, with Direct Energy,
So, I mean, I'll be perfectly frank with you. I'm more confused now than I was before. So, is there a way for us to lock in for a couple of months? Because, quite frankly, I know I need a tutorial, another tutorial on this, because I'm getting confused with these numbers and the lock-ins, and the index goes from 7 months to 24. You know, there's nothing between 7 months and 24 when you're looking at fixed and you're looking at indexed. And I don't know if there's something in between. I just fear, you know, if we lock into a contract for nearly 3 years and then there are better rates out there, we're stuck paying this high rate. So
What do we have now? Are we locked in right now?
No.
you're with National Grid right now. You were with Constellation, and because by not extending during like the pandemic,
Well, what were we? The most recent, we did something with Constellation, correct?
707.
I want to hear from the finance director, if you don't mind. What does the city of Woonsocket do? What was our most recent contract? And my question is, were we locked in under Constellation or not?
Yes, we had a fixed rate with
And we
Constellation.
were locked in with Constellation for, do you know how long it was?
Probably 3 years, and I don't know. I'm thinking it
I'm gonna
was
say it
3.
was 3 years.
Yeah, so this is very similar to what we've done, and this piece that we're locking in for is the non-electricity piece. Where we're going to get killed, to be honest with you, is on the electricity, not so much the transmission and all that. So I hear what you're saying, but it could go the other way too. But again, it's the electricity piece is where the volatility is going to be, and that's what's going to be going up. Natural gas and oil and everything else, despite all their efforts to go green, as Councilman Ward said, if you filled up your tank today, you see, you know, that's not going to turn around anytime soon.
The pocket.
Yeah. So my only point is, and I'll defer, but it's similar to what we have had, and if I'm understanding, it sounds like the Constellation deal, which was a 3-year deal perhaps, has come to the end, and we have an opportunity to move, but it's not dissimilar having that 3-year lock-in. It's not dissimilar to what we've had for the last, and my guess is you're
But
not
we're
going to
not
be.
locked in for that amount. We're only locked in for 7 months.
No. We were locked in, we were locked in, through Constellation, we were locked into a deal for close to 3 years.
Right, correct.
And it was a fixed price, and we couldn't go shop around if somebody else had a better deal. Similar to this, you're saying, I don't want to get locked into Direct for 32 months because a better deal might come along, but frankly, that's what we just are coming from.
Right, but this is saying locked in for 7 months and then the 32 months. So it's not like we're locking into one price for 32 months. It's changing after 7 months.
But I don't know that the electricity was locked in. I think the electricity was fluctuating.
Council President.
We were fixed. It was a totally fixed contract. with
Yeah,
Constellation.
And you could do totally fixed here for 32 months, or 24, or whatever, but I just think there's so much volatility. and then I'll shut up. You're right, the way they used to work in September, but the world has changed drastically in the last month and a half in terms, well, just, the world's completely upside down in terms of
Yes, but
the
in
cost
terms,
of
in
energy.
terms of how this is marketed,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at a copy of a bill I sent over to the Water Commission from my office, and we locked into a contract for 3 years that was through Constellation, through the League of Cities and Towns and their program. And at the beginning of that contract, the rate that was agreed to for the supply was 5.66 cents per kilowatt hour, 0.0566 per kilowatt hour.
05?
0566.
So it's double
And that runs through December of '22.
And when did you sign on to that?
That was December of '19.
So for 2 years.
For 3 years, we're going to pay
19 oh, 3 years, yeah.
.0566 unchanging. And that's what they're talking about here, is whatever we, now, granted, that was at a time when, relatively speaking, prices were low compared to the price of natural gas. When you look at commodity prices, the natural gas has gone up.
Yeah,
Like
so it's
double
double.
easily.
The 32 is 10 cents.
So my point is, you're not going to get 05.
No.
No.
But it is going to be a contract that's going to lock a price, and that's going to stay that way for the term of the contract.
But my problem that I have is not with locking it up for 2 years or 3 years or whatever, but we're locking it, but I feel like we're still very exposed to the volatility because we're only locking up the energy cost for 7 months, and then, so it's almost like we're getting the worst of both. We're locked in to one company for our product, but we only gain the benefit of locking in the rate for 7 months. So in 7 months, it can go anywhere, and we can't
Of
shop
course,
around.
it can. And as I said, the peak in the gas market, and again, I'm doing the national commodities look at this, the peak was back in August of 2021, where it was the highest price it's been in 10 years.
Right.
And it's fallen since then, and it rose again in December of '21, and it's falling off again now. What that has to do with what's going to happen in 7 months, get your crystal ball. I have no idea. All I can tell you is you have a choice. You can either lock in a price now at 10 cents a kilowatt hour and hope that it's better than what happens in 7 months, or you can not and wait for the 7 months and see what the seasonal projections tell them for what is essentially a speculation in what the market's going to do over the course of the next 3 years after that or 2 years after that. And no matter how you play it, you are subject to second guessing by anybody who finds something different when the future comes. Because that's the nature of what we're doing here, is speculating about the future.
Council President?
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
So when it comes to the energy portion, we would be locked in with direct energy. I was looking to see if there was something that showed what the comparison is over a period of time, because I would feel more comfortable locking in with a company that consistently shows itself to be a lot more competitive than if it has a track history of being more competitive. It would make us feel a little bit more, at least me, a little bit more comfortable locking in, knowing that they're always, that they're always trying to bring the better rate. I don't know if you have something that has a longer track history of. I see the complete bid stack, but that would be, just sending it out to bid, getting that specific bid for this period of time, correct?
Yeah, so each supplier is going to look at each individual bid that we send in for any one of our clients differently. And with the ebbs and flows of the market is kind of how they're going to price everything. I can say Direct Energy was the preferred vendor for the League of Cities and Towns for a couple of years. I think it's Constellation now, but for many years prior to that, it was Direct Energy. And so I don't know if there would be a history that shows them as the most competitive across the board, but I know they're familiar with serving municipalities, not just here in Rhode Island. I know they have a bunch throughout the Northeast. I don't know that there's one thing that shows, I guess, that they've been competitive over years. We place a lot of business with them. We have Electric Boat is with them through us. So we do put a good amount of our business with them here in Rhode Island.
And that creates also the power of buying, which is what we come forward with. Even if it's just direct energy, we can pressure direct energy as your negotiator. So whether it's us or somebody else, it's to your benefit to have a best practice as your negotiator who's going to be on top of it, watching it, knows all the ins and outs, and to make sure we're doing the best for you. And our track record is there. I mean, Pawtucket alone, I don't mean to throw Pawtucket in, we got a 5-year contract, and we've saved them a lot of money. And Councilman Ward is correct. Back when I started, after I left the mayor's job, the prices were really low, and they've steadily, come up again. And with the league, I think I told the story. I changed, didn't even know best practice, but when they brought it to our attention, the league they just pay a commission. They don't keep track of Constellation. In other words, we watch it all the time. Constellation only comes to the municipalities when they're looking for another contract. That's not our deal. And that's where your benefit is, to deal with, again, us, who we're going to use direct energy, so that we're there all the time. Your staff doesn't have enough time to do that. I found that out in Cumberland.
But just understand this, and I'm only speaking for myself here, but my question isn't the value of best energy.
Yeah, I understand.
It's once we sign on, we're not signing a contract with Best Energy to daily go out and get us our best, rate. We're signing a contract that you negotiated today with Direct Energy, and then we're locked in with them for 32 months. So that's where it has nothing to do with, I can see the value of you, your company at this point, and I'm just trying to make sure. And Mayor, because I think we're going to be here till midnight talking about this, because we're going through this. But are you comfortable with the resolution? Do you want us to modify it? Do you want us to hold it off till the next meeting and give your staff more time? Where would you feel comfortable? Because we as much as we can discuss this, the bottom line is that we have a resolution that was put forth for 32/7. And
Keeping in mind, in 2
Council
weeks, it may change again.
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's exactly.
And
I was going to say.
do you, I'm
I have one more question when you have a chance.
Director, we have a chance.
Councilman Ward indicated that they're locked in for 3 years at .0566.
Right. Just keep in mind, though, when I look at the commodities index for natural gas, that happened to coincide with one of the lowest prices in the 10-year history of natural gas, which was back less than $2 per whatever measure, and now it is up at closer to $4.40 compared to that $1.70. And
Right,
that's
but-
why we're looking at 10 versus 5.
Right, but you're locked in for
Correct.
36 months at that rate.
That
You
rate.
know exactly what that rate is.
Yes.
When we look at ours right now, what are we locked in at in total? Yours is in totality, .0566. That's the total amount that you're paying.
Well,
What is the,
That's the electricity. No, let me correct you on that, because when it came to that index question, let me just pull that back up. Sorry, just give me a minute to find it. But that was just the electricity itself. There were other charges, and that's why the index components, I don't know what pieces of that is the index components that you were speaking of earlier. I was looking at an actual invoice.
while you're looking for that,
Yeah, so
what
take a second.
would we be paying for 7 months that we'd be locked in at? In totality, what are we paying? So we're all clear and we understand for the first 7 months, and excuse my back, I'm sorry, it's an awkward setup over here. Sometimes I take the microphone out and turn around to talk to the people, but it's not tonight. What is the totality for 7 months?
630.
801.
801.
Oh, wait a minute, that's the price. Is that the kilowatt price?
Yeah, per kilowatt hour.
Okay, where do I find 801 on this?
On the first page, the recommendation, it's in that second paragraph, and that bid stacked with the index is kind of how we got that in.
Okay, so show me where that 801 is on.
Yeah, it's right, if you go to the second to last sentence, putting the
Guys, I
city's
can
price at
read
80.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
I
he's
can
talking
read
about
that.
in these-
Where is it in your comparative study? Where is 801 that I can see what we're talking about?
So I mean, I have it in the savings analysis. If you go to the 32-month, the rates overview, that's where I have it. I don't have it on a bid stack because,
Well, but why wouldn't it be on a bid section?
well, because we have the index piece here. It would be, you're adding two different terms together.
So what are we at? Okay, we're adding two terms together to get to 801. What are we adding?
A 7-month energy price plus a 32-month index price.
The 801's got to change.
Yeah, but can I ask you a question? Put that answer aside for a moment. Isn't it for the first 7 months? Are we not fixed? If you go to the fixed page here with the green and all that,
Yeah.
so fixed for 7 months, it's 637,000 and it's .084. Do you see that number?
Yeah. So that would be if you just did a fixed all-in, which we had looked at for you guys, was
Right.
just doing an all-in
So
rate.
if we locked in just for 7 months, all in, it'd be .084.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit less than that because we're locking in not for 7 months on the index piece, so what I refer to as the non-electricity.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Since you're going out 32 months on that, it brings it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's a weighted average that you're giving us on that other page,
Yeah.
right? So to the mayor's question, we'd be locked in at a price of .022080, which is the index 32-month. We'd be locked in for 32 months, so we're certainly locked in for 7 months at that rate, right? And then if we did the electricity portion for 7 months, we'd be locking that in, is that on the fixed page there, at the .084? Less that, right?
The 32 is .108 right now. If you just
On
did
the
a
fixed, yeah,
32-month
okay.
fix.
Yep.
So it would be the difference is how you get the fixed.
Okay.
I mean, how you get the energy portion.
Yeah, which is .08599.
Yeah, but that won't give it to you exactly because of the difference in terms. So look, I mean, Councilman Ward had a price of roughly .05 for 3 years, and that was done in 2019. You fast forward to 2022, you can see and I know it's not, this isn't exactly how it is, but look what you were paying for gas to fill your car up in 2019 versus what you're paying now. It's double, or more than double. And if I'm interpreting this correctly, we could lock in, all in, everything for 32 months at .108, which is about almost twice of what Councilman Ward had locked in some portion of it for 3 years.
Council President?
But Councilman, did you find your all-in cost on that bill?
I thought he was just that was just like.
the invoice I look at speaks of electricity supply, and then it has 5 different lines for distribution charge, energy efficiency program, renewable, which part of this is the index?
Well, no, so that's all National Grid.
That's National
transmission
Grid,
and
okay.
distribution.
So
The
my
supply
electricity
is-
supply includes any index components that you're speaking of?
Yeah, is everything on one National Grid bill?
Okay, that's
So
my
it's-
all-in price.
5.5,
5.0566.
0.0566.
Which should be comparable to the
It would be comparable
1.0.
to the,
Yeah, yeah.
32 months.
Correct.
This is a little bit shorter, 32 months.
Yes.
Okay.
So can I just ask a question? Because Councilman Ward said something about September, 7 months, all of that. So I'm just wondering, why do we have like a random 7 months? Like, why don't we have 6 months or 8 months or 10 months or, like, we have 7 months, then 24, 32, so.
I could.
Or a year? Why
Yeah, I
not a year?
mean,
What's
well,
the
I could add some confusion to this, because, again, when I look at a commodities pricing, and again, there's many factors that come into this, I believe, one of which is the fact that there's only a limited supply of natural gas that gets into New England because of the limitation of the pipeline coming into New England that's not been allowed to be opened up. The other thing is the pricing that's skyrocketed so much, skyrocketed after, and I'm not trying to be political here, but it skyrocketed after the 2020 election, or January of 2021, when they stopped leasing federal land for fracking and oil drilling, and so the availability of natural gas became limited, and that's when the price started rising, and that's when it peaked at the highest it's been in the last 10 years. Now it's come down, and it's gone up, and it's come down some more. But I don't know whether the issues that the director spoke of and how that would affect the availability of fracking and drilling of natural gas wells on federal land, whether those leases will be opened up. But, all of that goes into what makes these prices what they are.
That ain't happen.
So how, and the timing of that goes into what all of this does. So again, we either take a price now and lock in, or we speculate.
But I'm just asking, like, why is it 7, why do we choose 7 months? Is 7 months a particular time of the year that?
It seems like end of the summer has always been historically when you did it, but I suspect there are so many variables at play here with how
Well, how about this, Councilman?
issues are managed nationally, that we can't know what and how much the federal government or the availability of the pipelines coming into New England are going to affect this, or how much the production of electricity is affected by the wind farms off the coast.
So can we do an all-in for 7 months, bottom line, 7 months?
So let's ask that. The mayor had a very good question. Why 7 months? Why 24 months, 32, and 44? What's the significance of those dates?
Yes, so the 7 month was, we were originally looking at a November end when we first started pricing this, and that it started at 8 when it was a March start, and it's just we were looking to end it in November because this winter is where a lot of the price is getting kind of blown up because of how this winter is pricing for power. So we decided to look at something right before this winter, so it'll give you 7 months of budget certainty and give us time to kind of go out and hedge that next piece. We included the 24 here. We got asked to include that last time in comparison with the 32. That's why before we had just done December ends. I threw the 24 in here. We had because we were asked to compare it with what we were proposing, but to the 44 and the 32. So that's why that was included. Typically, we look to just go December end dates, or December and our contracts to end in December.
So, one final question, if I may.
Sure.
So, Mayor, you said that you constantly watch the prices, and I understand how you basically leverage them.
Right.
Because you have the customer base and you can muscle them, whatever. I get that. So do you ever have the ability to change our situation? Because what good is this, the customer base, if you can't, do anything with it?
Well, you mean?
We're locked in.
You mean change as, well, as we said, that's where the hedging comes in after the 7 months.
Right.
But we still have to stay with direct energy because they're the ones that are, and, bear in mind now, if we just go to the 7 months, you're leaving yourself open. We have a big manufacturer that would not listen to us and decided not to hedge, and they're paying 30% more on electricity right now.
Right.
So it's a real, flip coin in the air, but at least you'll be protected, and then we again have the power to stay on direct energy and get the best deal for Woonsocket that we possibly can.
Yeah. The only reason I like the 32-month, I'm going to be totally blunt and candid, because it's almost exactly to November 2024, November the 5th.
Right.
When this guy gets thrown out, hopefully. And the prices will start to drop, I can almost guarantee it. Because I don't see anything good happening between now and then. So
I agree.
that's just the way I see it.
How do you feel about it?
And again, too, if we again wait, and we could do any analysis you want, like we did the last time, but remember the price changed from Friday afternoon. Was that the last conversation, Chris, that we had? Till today. So I don't know what's going to happen. We can't look in the crystal ball for that.
And see, that's where I'm concerned, where 3 days ago, or 4 days ago, you would have done the best for the city of Woonsocket,
Right.
that best practice could possibly do, and it was going to be with EDF.
Yep.
4 days later, you're telling us direct energy is the best you can do for the city. So once we sign this for 32 months,
Right.
we lock in our obligation with direct energy, but we don't lock in the cost of the energy. And as you demonstrated just in your two proposals within 4 days,
Right.
you switched companies because you were able to do better. And we're not going to be able to do that.
No, but
And if you could leverage the way that you say that you can leverage, you'd have been able to push EDF down and we would have the same proposal with us tonight.
It's all in the timing.
I understand, but the timing is we're going to be locked in for 32 months without locking in the volatile portion of. I mean, I've got to say, I tend to agree with Director D'Agostino. Finance Director?
Yes.
Yes, Finance Director D'Agostino. No, but political advisor? Is that what it is? But no, but seriously, it's almost like if we're going to bite off one part, we may as well bite off the whole thing and
But just,
keep ourselves safe.
to make it simple, if you lock in only at the 7 months, you're going to be paying more than you are right now of what we gave you. You also get the street lights coming up.
No, if we locked in at 32 months.
No, yeah, I'm saying if you just do the 7 month.
I'm not saying the 7. I'm saying if
oh.
we locked in at 32 months.
Correct.
Fixed.
At 10-8.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we locked in at 32 months at 10.8, what is our rate going to be on November 4th, 2024?
It would be the 10-8. Yeah.
It would be the same for the next 32 months.
Raise your hand if you think it's going to be better in the next 12 months.
Right, if you want to go from the 8 to the 10, or take a gamble on the 32 months. In other words, the hedging of the 7, doing the fixed 7, and then the hedging further. I mean, there's no problem going the full way, 32 at the 10. That's fine, and then we don't have to worry about when 7 months ends.
Well, comments from the colleagues.
Council President?
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
I'm leaning towards the 32 months. I know that the fixed, I know that 4 days later you're coming back with a different company, but the rate is also higher. Correct?
Yeah.
We're going with a different company, but the rate is higher. So I do believe that the longer we wait, the more we're going to pay.
In 2 weeks from now, the crude oil could be 160. Natural gas, another 50 cents or a buck. So guess what?
Yeah.
It's not going to be cheaper.
No, I agree. I think every day we wait, we are just going to be paying more money. There's nothing really showing that there's going to be a good dip coming our way. So the sooner that we can lock it in, I'm all for it. And I would recommend the 32 fixed.
What is the rate for 24?
The differential total for between 24 and 32 for cost comparison, if you divided out your 24-month price by 24 multiplied by 32, your pricing would put you at 147,000 more over 32, but it would give you a more rapid opportunity for a renewed price if the prices happen to go down. If 34 months, you would be locked in for the additional months.
So at 32 months, Mayor, we're at 10.8.
Right.
And at 24, you're at 11.2. So it's actually a premium to go to the 24 months. So that's 24 is almost the worst scenario, because at 7 months, you're at 8.4. At 32, you're at 10.8.
Worse off.
But at 24, you're at 11.2.
So you can't do 24.
24 months is the highest unit cost of the 4 proposals.
But you're out of the contract sooner.
I'm sorry?
But you can go free market sooner. And I think that's what she's thinking. At least in 24 months, we can go out again and see if there's another company that's less expensive. Hopefully, it's not the same world it is today in 2 years.
I think it will be.
But what if it is?
Well, it's like, it's
Because 30,
this is like a
24 to
gamble,
32
right? You
months.
don't know. I mean, why don't we go with 7 months? It's at 8. And why don't we shop around and see, while we're at 8, what happens in the next month or two? Because when we're locked in for 7 months at, what did you say, 0.801, I think is what you said. You know, if in 90 days we find something, we can lock in starting 4 months later. I mean,
Well, the 801 is if we lock in for 32 months
Yeah.
with 7 months fixed.
okay, you said it's 0.108 for 32 months, it's 0.112 for 24 months, and it's what for 7?
0.84.
Okay, 0.084. So if we locked in for 7 months, maybe we could at least wrap our head around what the heck we're doing here and see what's out there, and then lock in for a longer period of time. I mean, it doesn't mean that we can't shop around and, you know, unless you're saying you cannot lock into an energy company unless it's within 30 days or something. I mean, there's a big swing between 0.084 and 0.112 and 0.108. I mean, 3 years is a long time to not be able to have any flexibility. It's not like we're at 0.0566 like Councilman Ward is in Lincoln at this point.
Lucky.
No, but we may have thought.
It ends the end of next year.
We may not have. We may have been having the same discussion, because the numbers could have been the same then. It could have been 0.55 for 3 years, or 0.45 for 7 months, and they could have been saying, "What are we going to do?" And look at Lincoln looks like superstars because they had the foresight to lock in for 3 years, and.
Well, it's timing.
No,
It's all about
It's
timing.
timing.
It's all timing.
Yeah,
But the timing
there's
could
luck
be-
involved there.
And we have other municipalities locked in, as I said before. Smithfield, they're all, Cumberland was under 6. So Lincoln did a good job, but who knew it, guessing at that point with the lock-in, that was a guess you had to make.
What's our current all-in rate, do you know?
The current rate?
With Constellation, you mean? What
Yeah,
was
for
it?
Constellation, what are we paying right
But
now?
we're not under
Well,
Constellation.
Constellation ended, but when we were with Constellation.
Whatever.
Director, what's our current rate
Was-
all in?
I think it was 7 cents.
Right now?
No.
Constellation.
No, that was one.
What
of
is our current rate right now?
It's
It's
variable. We don't.
Paying the floating rate from National Grid, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Which is expensive.
And what's that
Right.
currently?
I have it on.
12, 13, 14?
It's so the G32s, which are like about 70% of your load, It's where is it? It's 9/8 for April, 8/3 for May, and 8/1 for June, and then it's not published past that. And it's 15 cents for March.
April, May, and June, you're talking about future months.
Yeah, so National Grid's rates are published March, April, May, and June, and it's.
We don't know what we actually paid in the last 3 months?
So in February, it was 22, and January was 24. And we did a 1-month contract for your G32s at 20 cents to save a little bit.
We have to do something, there's no
Yes.
question. I just don't know. I don't know. I think we could look at it the other way too, and everybody is so damn angry in this country that maybe Washington is finally going to do something to stop the bleeding and the pain, and then we're locked into a higher rate. So you know what? It's almost like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't kind of situation. So, I mean, 0.084 looks like a nice rate for 7 months. You know, I could be a goat 7 months from now and have, you know, picked the wrong rate, and could have been a hero if I picked 0.108. I don't know.
No matter what you do.
It's a different kind of goat.
You're right.
No,
To
seriously.
do it right. The one thing the reason I thought 24 months might make some sense right now, we're in 2022, you're talking 2024. I hate to do this, but the United States Government Energy Information Administration is projecting that the pricing basically will stay stable through 2022. However, and Director, I'm sure this will thrill you. However, they expect natural gas prices to begin to decline in 2023 as production grows. And U.S. liquefied natural gas exports and pipeline exports to Mexico increase slightly, and consumption in the industrial and electric power sectors remain similar to 2022 levels. So,
When was that written?
that would be just before the election. No, all I'm saying is there's a couple of 3 different projections all talking about stable through 2022 and then possibly dropping off in 23, but all of which makes it important that we fix in a price for some period of time so that we're not paying National Grid whatever the retail rate is, because now that would be throwing dollar bills in the trash can and lighting them afire, because they're not the best rate around.
I do the fixed 32.
What you want, but I know what I would do.
I would fix it.
I'm supportive of the fixed 32.
Just lock it in now? Call it a day?
Like we did before. And prices are up, we know that, everything's up.
Mr. President,
Councilman Gillette.
estimated annual volume, 12,967,805 kilowatts. What if we only used 8 million kilowatts? Do we get penalized?
No, there's the energy usage is full swing on the contract. So when you guys reduce your streetlight volume, there won't be any penalties.
Be protected.
Okay, so here's my thought. Totally different from what everybody's been talking about. We lock in for the 32 months. In the meantime, we use the ARPA funds and get solar panels and reduce the amount of electricity that we're going to use in those 32 months, and therefore save money that way.
So that's a good question. So if for some reason during the 32-month period, if we put in solar arrays at any of our sites, are we penalized for in any fashion because we're now hooking up to green energy?
I don't think so, because when
Let's have them answer.
okay,
Solar is considered on-site generation, so you would be penalized for solar.
penalized in what way?
Your capacity cost would rise for like the first year when you reduce the usage. Direct Energy has an on-site generation. We'd have to see the scope of the project. It's usually 25% material deviation from on-site generation. So with the scope of the project, we could look at it. But if it's going to be more than 25% decrease, I think for 3 months in a row, it's considered material usage, and
Then the natural follow-up is, what about net metering?
net metering, like,
If you're buying the credits from someone else and it's
and
producing-
you get the credits on your bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
That has
it's
no
just
effect.
it's just the on-site
If you
generation.
do your own solar panels, you're penalized for depending upon the volume that you're taking offline from the utility. However, if you're simply buying net metering credits through a third party, you simply get 100% of the amount credited.
We did that with Cumberland. We
Yeah.
got net metering with,
Okay. I say that only because Lincoln has a net metering agreement with a company that has a
Right.
privately owned solar farm, and
Right.
I never saw a change in rates when that happened.
So I just want to be clear that I'm clear on this. If you vote for a 32-month contract, and tomorrow I call ABC Energy, and they have some net metering available that we can latch onto, we have the ability to do that to save.
yeah,
Yes.
yes. We did that in Cumberland, Mayor.
Okay?
That falls under the category of horse of a different color.
Yeah.
Council President?
But if we install solar panels that's less than 25% of our total usage, there wouldn't be a penalty?
Yeah, there'd be probably not. We'd have to look at the scope of the project. I mean,
Well,
it really.
probably is not a legal
Well,
term.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to say for sure without seeing the scope of the project and knowing how much it's.
Well, I'm
actually
telling you,
generating.
it's going to
It's
generate.
less than 25%. Yes, you'll be fine.
Okay, because it's going to generate 24.9%. We're good?
But that's the difference. That's the difference. When we're talking about putting in a solar array, there's a difference between us owning the solar array and being responsible for the solar array, or us leasing space to another company to install a low solar array, which we then get net metering credits on while they get the full credits. And that's the distinction between the two.
But
So I
they're
don't know if
saying
we're-
that's okay.
Yes, but I just don't know if we were truly ever looking at owning our own solar array.
No, we weren't.
We were looking at,
Farming it.
well, he wasn't. I don't know what you were doing, Mayor, but he wasn't.
Well, no, what we were looking at, we wouldn't have owned it, but it was not net metering.
Well,
What we were
if
looking
you don't
at
own
was
it,
not-
the only thing you have is net metering.
No, it's not. No, it's 100% generation. There's a huge difference between net metering and what we were looking at. Net metering is the solar farm can be down in South County,
Right.
and we simply buy credits. There's no interaction at all. What we were talking about is a company that, yes, what we were doing would, if we went over the 25%, we'd be penalized.
But would we own the solar panels?
No, we own the property.
No, just
We own the property. We
Get
lease the
100%, we
property.
get the credit.
Would it be tied to your?
But they were giving us
account?
20%, which is a net metering credit. We would get net metering, plus we would get lease value on the land. As opposed from buying from somebody down in South County, we only get the electricity percentage. But either way, we own the property, yes, but the electrical portion of it is a net metering contract for as long as they're leasing the land.
On the,
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not. Look up what net metering is, John. Net metering is a specific law that was created by the General Assembly to allow the development of off-site.
Right.
It's not net metering. We would get 100% of the solar energy created on our property. Net metering is simply buying credits from a overproducer of solar energy or wind.
Well, I beg to differ because the agreements that were discussed in the previous council that was working with a vendor, Green Energy, was talking about leasing land to the company. And if you looked at what they were proposing, it gave us a specific percentage against the total credits created by that solar farm. And that is the net metering that is referred to.
And
It's
we-
not about whether the solar farm is in the city or out of the city. It's about who gets the credit and then how the credits transfer through to the beneficiary.
right, we saved $350,000 on a 25-year contract on net metering. And we have a young man, you met him at the last meeting, Jordan Berman, who is the expert in this with our company. And he's already saved money in Cranston, about $800,000. He worked with Cumberland. He's working with Johnston right now. So that's something we can help you with, is on the net metering
Okay.
with people.
Councilwoman Sierra.
I have a simple question, I hope. The question for me is, do we want to lock in at 24 months or do we want to lock in at 32 months? So I want to know if anyone knows like a monetary figure that we can attach to the difference between the 24-month 0.112 rate versus the 32-month 0.108 rate. Like, what does that year cost us?
Yep, I can do that math.
Did you say 24 to the 32?
Yes, because I myself like the idea of being out from under the contract in 24 months, because
yep.
I feel it's going to be a different place. So I want to know how expensive that is to have that option.
It's about 55 grand a year more for the 24 month.
So essentially it's 55 grand because it's only 714. So it's about 50. What is that? What does that work out to be?
110,000.
110,000?
Yeah, 55 for each year.
Yeah, but it's not even a year.
Right.
It's only eight
But
months.
for 1 year, you'll be paying 0.00425 more, and then you'll pay that, additional again. So you're paying 0.112 for 24 months, or 0.108.
You're paying more
Right.
for the 24 months per year. So
Right.
it's a $55,000 per year premium, and then when you get to the 24 month, you still have the volatility of being in the same situation we're in today,
Maybe worse. Yep,
maybe worse.
you never know.
President, I got a question.
Solicitor, yes.
So you mentioned 25%. Is that in the contract somewhere? It says 25%?
Yeah, it would be in there.
It would be? Have you
yeah.
seen it?
Yeah,
Definitely
we've worked.
25% stated in the contract?
Yeah, from our experience, yeah, we can negotiate that if you guys do have plans.
Did we see the contract? Did the contract? Because I didn't see the
Wait,
contract.
no, you will see the contract before I sign the contract. But we also need to make sure that the net metering language is in the contract.
Is that in the contract as well, the net metering aspect?
Yeah, so if you guys were looking at net metering, if that's an option that's on the table, I would suggest just doing a 7-month fixed contract, and then we look back at it in a month, because it needs to be utility billed if it's net metering, and this index product isn't utility billed.
Well, I think
If
the
those are the
problem-
credits that you want to maximize the credits on that, then it's something that probably needs to get reconsidered.
The problem, I think, is the council and the mayor are uneasy with 7 months. They don't think, and the director doesn't think that anything's going to change between now and 7 months. It may very well get worse. Whereas at 32 months, at least we're going out more and things may change in 32 months. But in 7 months, I don't think much is going to change. So we lock in for 7 months. You really still have the volatility, which is what you're trying to avoid. So.
Councilman Ward, I have a question. When Lincoln built their solar farm, how long of a period was it from conception to when the construction was done and the switch was
Well,
flipped?
it was privately owned, on privately owned land in this case.
Yeah.
And that the agreement was for a 10-year period from the time he was granted permission, I guess, to build the solar farm there. It was less than a year. And the
Oh, it
farm
was?
built, yes.
Okay.
It took almost no time at all. And then a second privately owned one was built a few years later by Green Energy, actually. And really, it took mere months to go up. It doesn't take long.
Okay.
Mr. President. Mr. President,
Those are private.
All right, man. Thank you.
Councilman Gillette.
the solar farm that's on Fairmount Street only took about 7.5 to 8 months to put together.
Well, I understand private industry can move quick. I don't know that we'll be ready to be getting energy credits.
If it was something where you were going to allow a private company to build on the city property under a lease arrangement, then yes, the slowest part of the process would probably be us getting to a lease agreement and obtaining the land available to them to actually
So
do
see,
that.
the contract will be done by the time we get
As
that.
I've said so often before, government in action is government in action. Figure it
I
out.
like that. I'm going to use that one again.
Goes from 3 words to 2.
So where are we? This is at the request of the administration. What's the recommendation so we can start to get on with it? It's not just an hour and a half.
Well, she's, she's the CEO, but
Well, I don't have a vote, so clearly
No, but
you
you-
already all basically
This is
said
your
what you want
request,
to do,
so-
but I just want to be certain, because we've made progress on certain parcels of land. We have folks who reach out to the community regarding net metering, like Councilman Gillette said. We're talking about different scenarios, about the 25% and things such as that. So if you want to be cautious and lock into a 32-month, then that's fine. That's your
Okay.
prerogative.
I'm
But I
gonna-
want to be
I'm
certain
going to
that
make a
we're
motion
not-
to table, because this...
No, let me
You
finish,
guys
please,
recommended
Councilman.
32 and 7.
Let me finish. I don't want us to not have the opportunity to save more money for our taxpayers by not having that language in the contract. So as long as John's going to read the contract and the 2 issues that were brought up are included in the contract, then we're at .108.
So what are you recommending, assuming that the language that the attorney needs is in there? What's your recommendation so we can amend it or move it or nothing?
John?
Well, John, you're going to read the contract,
I'm
right?
going to read the contract,
You'll
definitely.
make sure that the net metering
Make sure the
thing and the
25% is in
25%.
there, and the net metering exception is in there.
So what do you want?
I'm fine with whatever you choose as long as that language is in the
No,
contract.
this is your recommendation. What do you want?
I recommend 32 months.
Got the mayor's recommendation.
I don't think I can say it any more times than I already
And
did.
I get it,
Okay.
Director. Is that what you
I'm
want,
glad
Mayor?
that that's his recommendation. I am apprehensive with 32 months, but I understand the lock-in period, so I'm fine with it as long as that language is in the contract that John's going to make certain of.
So let the record reflect that the mayor recommends 32 months.
You're full of it.
Council President, look, I think we need to table this, with all due respect, because the solicitor hasn't seen the contract. We're talking about making sure certain language is in a contract. If there's language that we want in the contract that's not in the contract, that could change all these numbers. These guys are giving us a set of numbers based on a contract that they have. If we're going to start adding stuff or making sure we have something that we want that's not there, that could change the, so
Is this an ordinance or a resolution?
Resolution.
You could have a special meeting.
I mean, you tell me, if he has something in there that we want, that could change this, yes or no?
It could. I mean, we'd have to go through DE's legal team, Direct Energy's legal team as well. So
Yeah,
we
I
can
mean,
pull the
I'm
contract
not-
first thing, get it over.
Has anybody from, again, I'm not trying to be difficult, but the administration put this forward, and now we feel like we haven't even read the contract yet. So maybe we need to take this up at the next
I
March
don't
meeting,
think
give
there
us all
was a
time.
contract that was sent over.
We haven't seen it.
Well, then why, then I guess what I'm saying is, why are we agreeing to something if we haven't even looked at the contract yet?
Because the contract is coming after this vote with the terms that will be in the contract that they're going to send over. But they already indicated that it's already in the contract that you can have up to or under 25%. So the only language being added is the net metering.
Well, the contract draft, I'm sure, exists. And the only thing missing from it is dates, names, and unit
And
pricing.
the amount.
Right.
Or every other piece of language is stock contract language, I'm sure, that Direct Energy or any other provider signs agreements under.
Right.
Am I correct there? So the solicitor could review a contract that has everything except names, dates, and unit pricing, just to see that the language we're seeking is considered as part of the contract.
And these contracts are a part of every municipality that we have
And
contracts
they're the
with.
same.
It's the same language that
I
every
submit
every
that
attorney in
solicitor
Rhode
could
Island has looked at.
The solicitor could review a contract draft before we ever take any action.
So before we get a second on Councilman Cournoyer's motion to table,
I'll withdraw it
okay, no,
for now.
I would like to say I'm in agreement with the mayor through her director for the 32 months, but I would like to be sure that what is being recommended is what the administration thinks. I spoke with Mr. Luba and Director Chamberlain before this meeting, and I was under the impression that it was fully vetted and that this was just a done deal, and now, it's 8:30, and I'm realizing that it's not nearly where I thought it was at 6:50 this afternoon. So I do think the prudent thing to do is to table this, get the solicitor involved for the legal side, get the administration involved so they know what they're doing with the recommendation, and then bring it back at the first meeting in March, and we'll act on it then.
Council President.
And you're aware the prices could change?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm
As long as we're
also
aware.
aware that we could make a bad decision tonight
No.
and end up signing in for something that either doesn't have what we need or is, when you talk to Direct Energy and tell them that we may be looking at net metering or we may be looking at potentially solar farms, they could say their numbers are different, and then you're back to us anyway. So, Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Can't we vote with the contingency of those two things that we want to make sure? That way we don't
I think that makes.
kick it off
I think that
further.
makes better sense.
Just instead of tabling, we voting, these two things are very important to us, so it's contingent on the, what do you call it, the net metering. Net metering, and making sure that the 25% is in the contract.
The only thing I feel that this has not been properly vetted. I don't feel, just by some of the questions that the mayor has asked and Mr. Luba's explanations, and I don't know and I don't feel comfortable that this has been fully vetted for us to act on. But I will defer to my colleagues.
Can I ask a question, Mr. President?
Solicitor?
So the prices that you gave us, how long are they locked in for?
They change daily it's a commodity.
Well, if we voted today, we wouldn't have a contract for a couple of days anyway, so you're telling us that we wouldn't get the price that we have now? How long are we locked in for? When you called up Direct Energy, you got the price. How long are we locked in for that price?
So we would be able to execute it tomorrow. If it went more than a day, we'd probably have to pull pricing. And it all depends on what happens in the market.
We won't have a contract by tomorrow. Even if they voted on it today, how would we have a contract
So
tomorrow?
we're getting to this price right here, tomorrow.
We would pull paper for you guys tomorrow, and that would be
Okay, so in other words, what you're saying is this price is good when you leave this room.
Yes.
Okay.
tomorrow.
So why can't you do it as whereas the net metering is included in the contract, whereas, I'm very nervous about 2 weeks from now. I got to be honest with you, with what's going on
But
in
if you
Europe.
lock in, if you lock in tomorrow, quote, pull paper tomorrow, you're locked in. And if we can't come to an agreement on the contract, now what?
No, I
Well,
think.
if nothing gets signed, then we would just reprice it once the language is agreed upon.
So once you lock in, how soon do you have to have a contract once you lock in?
Well, it's not locked in until the contract's signed.
So it could
I'm missing
change.
something. So how long does it take for it?
Yeah, it could change. It would be killed like tomorrow at, I think, 3 o'clock is usually when the contract.
So just to be very clear, only if we sign and execute a contract with a signature, the mayor's signature on it, that's the only way we lock in these prices tomorrow. If we don't have a contract signed with a signature tomorrow, and we have a contract that's signed 3 days from now or a week from now, that's the price we'll get, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's not guaranteed that it's going to go up, but
No, but it's,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
open. The point is, to Steve, we can't do what you just said. We're not
That's
locking
what
in
I'm
tomorrow.
saying. Well,
Yeah.
that's not what he just said.
I understand.
So what you spoke with forked tongue. I mean,
No, it's just confusing.
well, the price you're saying now is not the price we're going to get, no matter
No,
what.
so I think what we're saying is John gets the contract tomorrow. He adds the language regarding net metering, and we sign the contract tomorrow. The language that's going in is the language that John will insert into the
They're
contract.
telling us that it's already in there.
It's
I
in
just
there.
want to see it.
Right, so the contract gets emailed over tonight. You read the contract, you sign off on the contract, telling me it's good. I sign it, and we're locked into this price, as long as we sign by tomorrow at 3.
Well, that's what they're saying. But
Right.
That,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's correct.
What do you mean? That they have a sworn statement
where's the, I didn't see anyone taking it.
on video.
Well, yeah, I mean,
You can't win that, then.
if it's, if,
I will die.
Right,
see, if they give
John?
us the contract, I could see if it's in there, and you could maybe highlight the provisions that you're talking about, because that's what we're interested in.
How many pages is the contract?
It's about 24, but most of it is just your account list because there's 100 accounts. The master's about, I think, 6 pages. I'd have
So
to check. I have
tomorrow,
it on-
John, you could review that contract, make sure
could
the two concerns are in the contract. We'd be locked in at .108 as long as it's returned to them by 3 p.m.
Right.
Is that correct?
Correct?
JT, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You know what you just agreed to?
Yeah.
You do, because you were talking when she said something, and you just agreed to 4
I
cents a kilowatt.
apologize. I recall,
So thank you. You heard it. That's on video too.
Crude oil is up $9.
Put your phone away.
Market.
Okay. So who would like to begin with the amendments to the mayor's resolution 22R27?
Very funny.
Well, it says right here, Daniel M. Gendron, City Council President, by the request of the administration.
Talk to John. He's the solicitor.
That's
He
it's your
drafts it.
your
I'm not the
administration, Mayor.
attorney.
So who wants to put forth what the mayor wants?
Okay, I'm going to make an amendment to section 1. The first amendment is to change EDF to, all references to EDF Energy Services would be amended to say direct energy. That's the first change.
We're going to do this as one amendment, unless there's
Yep, we can do, yep. So that's number 1. Number 2, we will do a 32-month index contract with,
Correct.
Well, it won't just be a 32-month fixed?
I was going to say 32 and a, I was going to say both, 32
Well, it just brings
index
us
and
to this,
32,
correct?
okay.
No, is that correct?
You guys had agreed upon the fixed, correct? The
So if
10-8.
we do, if we want it to be fixed for 32 months,
That's a fixed contract.
so that's the 32-month fixed?
Yes.
Okay.
So it would be a
32,
32-month fixed index contract?
Just fixed, no indexed.
all right, 32-month fixed contract with direct energy. And that's it.
Do you want to put the rate?
And what about the, we don't have to distinguish the electrical because we're doing a fixed 32-month? You know how you got 7 months electrical?
Yeah,
Do
so
we
this,
have to put anything for the electrical?
the energy's going to be locked in. That's included in the fixed price.
Okay, so we'll say 32-month fixed rate contract with direct services at .108070 kilowatts per hour.
Yeah.
Okay. Provided that the contract will either reflect or be amended to include, what is it we're including? The ability to do net metering?
Unlimited net metering
Yep.
and up to 25% solar.
Is that, Mayor?
Well, it's not solar, it's solar direct consumption, right?
Yeah, on-site generation. So
On-site generation.
if it's tied to any of your
25%
accounts that are on the contract,
He said 20.
25%, up to.
25%.
So we could do 22% with no penalty.
Well, that's what we want to make sure.
Right.
They called it on-site generation.
Okay.
But the net metering is unlimited, right?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so let me try this again. Section 1 will read that the city of Woonsocket adopts the component strategy for a 32-month fixed-rate contract with Direct Energy at a rate of $0.108070 per kilowatt hour, provided that the contract will reflect unlimited net metering as well as the ability to have up to 25% on-site generating capacity through solar without penalty.
With no penalty.
I said without penalty.
Without penalty. Okay. And we should also amend the title?
And do we have to amend the whereases too? Because several of them make reference to.
Let's see.
In the 5th and 6th whereas and the 7th whereas.
Well, the 4th whereas we have to, first of all, we're already changing, everything's going to say Direct Energy, right?
Yep.
And in the 4th whereas, locked in, we have to delete the word indexed. Recommended the city. So I think the 4th one we should just delete. It's an entirely.
Delete the whole.
4th whereas.
4th whereas.
Because it's talking about the 7-month hedge.
Can you add that to your?
We don't need that. And the 5th one, 32 months.
And John, is there any, why don't we just delete those? They're just
Actually, the
whereases.
whereas clauses have no legal effect, so we could delete them. It's a lot easier.
So if we delete
The 4th,
5th, 6th, and 7th.
7th.
well, yeah, because we're already included, we could delete them, yeah. And we should just change the title to, with Direct Energy for a 32-month fixed
Fixed-rate contract.
rate contract at, and put the amount in.
Yep.
That, I think that would, it's a little sloppy, but I think that will get it done. So you changed companies within the last 3 or 4 days?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's how it changes.
Wow.
Okay, I make a motion for that amendment.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Cournoyer, seconded by Councilwoman Gonzalez. Comments on the amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And 22R27 is before us as amended. On the main motion as amended, comments? Nothing? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And 22R27 is approved 6-0 as amended. Thank you, gentlemen. Madam Clerk, if you can get us back online, we'll go back to presentations of petitions, memorials, and remonstrances.
22P09, a request of Michael Drainville to address the City Council regarding outdoor entertainment license at Black for 2nd and 3rd quarters.
Good evening. If you could please adjust the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please.
Mike Drainville, 28 Joyce Sand Drive, Manville, Rhode Island.
Set? Okay.
So, in contrast to the last discussion, this matter seems rather small, but I bring it forward anyway. Thank you for hearing me this evening. And basically, I'm here to request that my outdoor entertainment license be reinstated as per what I believe to be the spirit and intent of what was decided at a September 13 council meeting regarding my license. So let me just give you a little bit of background on the matter. I was first issued a outdoor entertainment license for the first quarter of 2021. I applied for renewal. It was granted for the second quarter, 2021, third quarter. And then at the fourth quarter renewal hearing, which was in September, I learned, I wasn't here, it wasn't on my radar screen to attend the license hearing, but I learned that there was a discussion about the license and some complaints about noise with some surrounding neighbors. So after hearing that the matter was discussed, I reached out to Councilman Susi and inquired, just to get a little background. And it was at that time that he informed me that there was some discussion about it and perhaps some debate, and a decision had been made that the license would be granted with a few stipulations, 2 stipulations to be exact. One was that the entertainment could not go past 9 o'clock, and the other stipulation was that I would erect a type of noise suppression barrier. So this was conveyed to me just, verbally. It was rather an informal conversation. And at that time, it was the end of September, and I knew I was going to be shutting down in a couple of weeks the outdoor, not only entertainment, but dining as well. And basically just kind of left my mind for a few weeks, upon which, I think it might have been the first week of October, I received in the mail my entertainment license for the fourth quarter. And, I have a package here that I think you all have a copy of it. So the license came across, and sort of as expected, the 9 p.m. Limit was on there, but there wasn't any verbiage associated with a stipulation of erecting a noise suppression barrier. Again, to me, it was moot point. I really wasn't too focused on any of it. The 9 p.m. got my attention a little bit. I wondered why that came up, because we had never gone past 9 p.m. In fact, all of the shows, except for maybe one, finished at 8 p.m. And if we went to 9 p.m., it was on a Thursday with light acoustic music, very light. But anyway, I saw I knew that I had the license, and basically after that, I really just left my mind, and I figured I'd deal with the rest of the details in the spring. So fast forward now remember, that's the first week of October. And I really give no thought to the entire topic of outdoor entertainment license until a few weeks ago, when I received in the mail an application for the second quarter, a renewal of my license for the second quarter. And I noticed on it that there was no reference to outdoor entertainment. It was just indoor. So I wondered why, and it also made me wonder, gee, did I even receive my first quarter license, which I applied for in December? Oh, actually, probably November. And so, scratching my head, I went back and dug into that, and sure enough, I confirmed I didn't have my license for the first quarter. And I did confirm that I mailed in my application for the renewal of my outdoor entertainment license at the appropriate time in November. So at that point, I was left with basically just to make a phone call to the city clerk to inquire as to what was going on. And it was at that point that the city clerk informed me that a decision had been made that I did not comply with the restrictions and the requirements that related to the barrier. So, imagine, it's February. This has been way out of my mind for many, many months. And I was, became curious as to what happened. Where did this come up? that somebody deemed that I had violated or was not complying with that stipulation. So I went back, and I remembered there was an email back in December, and I have it here in the outline that I gave, that Christina had sent on December 7th. And again, we're talking 3 months after we've been shut down, hadn't been thinking about it, and she just sent me an email out of the clear blue and said, "Hi, Mike, just a reminder that the extension portion of your quarterly entertainment license will not be granted until all prior requirements are met. Thanks and have a wonderful holiday." So, to me, I had received a license and there were stipulations on it. And to me, the meaning of a stipulation is I have the license, I have the right to have outdoor entertainment, but if I have it, I have to make sure that it's not beyond 9 p.m. And if I am having outdoor entertainment, I need to have some type of sound suppression barrier up. So I'm still left with trying to understand what I didn't comply with or why and how the whole matter came to anyone's attention. I then learned that, again, these types of meetings, unfortunately, I've got a lot going on, don't make my radar screen to be here when we have these license renewal meetings. I just recently learned that the subject had come up at that December 6th meeting, which was the day before I got the email from the city clerk. And so I was trying to find out what's going on, what came up, how was this decision made? And I went back to the video of the meeting that took place on December 6th. And I guess the entire conversation or discussion about it was very brief. It was very short, and Councilman Ward asked the city clerk, did we ever issue the entertainment license for this quarter based on those stipulations for the noise suppression? And the city clerk basically just responded, I'm not sure. I'd have to check with the clerk. And there was a little back and forth just inquiring, are we discussing the first quarter entertainment license or are we discussing the fourth quarter? Councilman Ward clarified that he was talking about the fourth quarter license. And at that point where the information wasn't there, he put forward a motion to table, I guess, a decision about my outdoor entertainment license. So, a few questions come to mind as to why we were questioning whether or not the fourth quarter entertainment license had been issued, if in fact it had been granted in September. But for whatever reason, that's what happened. I was never informed about an issue or the license being taken away until now. Just a few weeks ago, I realized that the outdoor entertainment portion of my license is not there, and I'm told that the only way I can get it back is to show that I'm complying with the restriction and the requirement of the barrier. Well, it's wintertime. The tent, the structure that we have out there has been taken down, and we haven't done anything since the end of September. So I'm left with this predicament here of, first of all, what happened? Why was it taken away from me? And number two, how do I move forward with my plans and planning for scheduling and booking of entertainment in the second quarter and third quarter when I don't have the license? And I still, at this time, feel like there's some confusion about what is the granting of a license with stipulations as opposed to you will be granted a license if you conform to these requirements, which then we approve. Those seem to me to be two very different things. So I'm here trying to figure out what I need to do and why it happened and just try to move forward.
Okay.
Council President?
Councilman Cournoyer.
So, Madam Clerk, I think what happened, and you, as you said, you're pulling some of the pieces together as well, but I think in September, your fourth quarter license came before us that was going to cover October, November, December.
Correct.
And at that meeting in September, 2 stipulations were put on: noise suppression, shut down at 9 o'clock for the entertainment. Okay. Then in December, we had licenses before us to cover the first quarter, January, February, March. And there was a question as to whether or not the stipulations had been adhered to in the fourth quarter. And there was some uncertainty. So the decision was made to table that license until we got clarification on that. In February, it came in for the first quarter. So then nothing happened in January, for the rest of December. Nothing happened in January. And then last month in February, your license for the first quarter covering January through March was on the agenda. It didn't have anything about it.
That would have been the second quarter, no?
No, I think it was for the first quarter. It specifically said
It goes
first quarter.
backwards?
Yeah, so it said first quarter. It didn't have anything about entertainment, and frankly, I just assumed, and to your point, it didn't have entertainment because it was January to March and it was freezing out and nobody was having entertainment outside. So I think right now you have a license for the first quarter through the end of March. Your second quarter one would have to get before us at the next meeting in March, which is March 21st or whatever. And that's when you would have your second quarter one covering April, May, June. And you're correct. You're a cycle behind, if you will, because at the February meeting, we covered everybody else's second quarter licenses. We didn't cover your second quarter license. We just did your first quarter license. So I believe it's just a matter of coming here in March, at the March 21st meeting, to have Black's second quarter license on with entertainment, and I guess the council
And
will
the
decide.
outdoor extension, right?
Yeah. And
The only thing I'm going to ask the solicitor to check, because the outdoor extension, I believe, was something to do with the governor's executive order and some of the liberties that were given to allow outdoor entertainment might be related. And I'm not saying that for sure, but before we say to you, yes, when you come back, you'll have it, solicitor, can you just check into, because there was a huge relaxing of many rules and regulations during COVID, and I just want to be sure that.
Yeah, I can check in. If I'm not mistaken, I think the council mirrored the state executive order. If I'm not mistaken, right, Chris? We mirrored it, so we gave them, not only him, but everybody, the ability to have liquor outside. So I'll check on that.
Yeah, because if the state has backtracked on that a little now, as they're doing with other regulations, I want to make sure you don't automatically assume that it's a done deal if things are starting to go back to what they were. And I don't know that.
Council President, I don't think he fell within that barrier. I think
Okay.
he actually applied for the outdoor extension.
So he always had the outdoor.
So can I ask a question? Technically, for the first quarter, do I have a license with outdoor entertainment, for outdoor entertainment?
No.
And
You
why
don't
not?
know.
Why is that?
Because I know you said stipulation or requirement, or when we passed the license for the outdoor entertainment, it was conditioned on a 9 o'clock cutoff for outside entertainment. And just so you know, that was based on any advertising that I could see that had your entertainment ending. Everything we saw had it ending at 8. And I just said 9 is going to give you an extra hour. So that was just based on what your history was with your previous entertainment. But the other stipulation, requirement, regulation, condition, whatever that word is that the soundproof barrier has to be up before you receive the license, not just when you do entertainment.
Well, that language is very different from what was what was voted on. I'm just going to say, have you reviewed it?
Yeah, well, we passed it, so yes.
Okay. Well, it says here that all licenses are granted with stipulations for black, which is 9 p.m., and the erection of the sound barrier. So,
And did you
was
put
there
up the sound barrier?
well, I thought I went through and explained that.
No. I'm saying at the end of the stipulations were put on before your entertainment ended in the
2
previous.
weeks.
So did you put up the sound barrier?
No, I did not.
Okay.
In 2 weeks? No, I did
Okay.
not. I knew I was done for the season.
Okay, but it wasn't that there was a stipulation, requirement, condition, whatever you want to call it, that said you can run out the rest of the 2 weeks until the weather turns bad, and in the spring put up sound barrier. It was, the sound barrier was supposed to be put up for the peaceful enjoyment of the neighbors.
With all due respect, I never received anything formal. The only thing I received was my license, my outdoor entertainment license, without any stipulation, requirement, restriction, or anything. It had nothing on it. So
Mr. Drainville, that is not correct. You and I had several conversations after the September meeting.
I didn't say we didn't have conversations. I said nothing formal was sent over, and there's a difference.
Well,
I mean, you're talking 2 weeks, so I was done for the season.
so bring it for your
Okay, when I come forward, all right, in March, is that what you're saying?
the next meeting
It's
is
gonna be
March 21st.
March 21st?
Yes.
Okay. And how are we going to approve the barrier or the sound restriction? I won't have that erected in March.
So you'll receive the approval of your license, but you will not receive the license until the conditions, requirements, or whatever you would like the wording to be are met, and then the clerk will give you the outside entertainment license.
Okay, and how do I proceed with planning and booking entertainment with that ambiguity, that question?
Put up the sound barrier.
You'll get a license conditioned on the barrier being up.
Okay.
For April, May, and June.
Yeah, no.
But why don't we just put that stipulation on the license?
Well, because then you come back and say what your definition of stipulation is. See, we try to work with the businesses, and quite honestly, you've made this a much bigger deal than it needed to be. And I don't think that anyone wanted you to go through this. I know I didn't at all envision you having to make up a packet. And in my mind, as Councilman Cournoyer said, you'd be here at the next meeting and you'd get your license approval. But if we've got to be careful now, because obviously you're making a difference between what the wording that we normally use. So we're going to ask the solicitor to be very clear on the wording at the next meeting so that we don't want there to be any ambiguity in what we're stating. I will tell you in black and white what it is that when you put up the sound barrier, you get your license. And with that license, there's a 9 o'clock cutoff. So is the word stipulation the wrong word?
Well, it
Maybe?
is different. It's very different.
So we're not going to,
So-
and I don't want it to be difficult for you. So we'll ask the solicitor to give us wording that will be very clear so that it's not difficult to understand.
When I come before you at that March meeting, and you may think I'm trying to be difficult, I'm really not. I'm just trying to
I
be.
don't think you are.
I'm trying to be pragmatic.
Yes.
And thinking
and-
ahead. Okay. There are a lot of different kinds of sound barriers. That is a very vague requirement.
And we purposely
if
left
I-
it vague
Yeah, well,
for you to be able to have the latitude to not handcuff you to say that it had to be a purple denier nylon with insulation back. We didn't want to do that. And Councilman Ward was the one that actually purposely kept it very vague and just said a sound barrier, period. And it wasn't,
If I
it wasn't to make
proceed,
it difficult.
proceeding forward with that type of ambiguity and lack of clarity, whether my idea of a sound barrier is going to be acceptable to the council, is a big business risk. I have to be booking entertainment now, otherwise it's
Yeah,
gone.
you'll lose out.
It's done for real. Yeah, I'm already behind right now. So I'm going to wait. So you're going to have me erect way ahead of schedule when I wouldn't be having anything. My thoughts aren't even there right now. I'm not going to be having outdoor entertainment until possibly after May. So the earliest would be, I have to wait for the weather to break to a more consistent pattern of weather being suitable for outdoors, which at the very earliest realistically is going to be the middle of May. I'm just, I'm going to go and I'm going to move everything advance and erect this in March that we can have a review and then say I'm complying with it, versus the bigger risk that I would be assuming and taking if I do a bad job of this, okay, if I'm not being responsible about it, would be that on the license, the vague language is there for the sound barrier, just like 9 p.m. If a young adult receives their license with restrictions that says they can't drive after 9 o'clock, or when they're driving, they have to have an adult in the car, they have the license. If they don't comply with it, consequences. So I think the correct, or I don't know, what I would suggest is if the outdoor entertainment license first in the fourth quarter had been issued with the stipulation on it, which maybe that was the intent and it was just a mistake or oversight, that's fine. But if now we just issued it with the 9 p.m. and the same vague restriction on it, if it's there, and if I don't comply with it, I'm at your mercy. You guys can take it away from me, and I'll bear all the consequences. But at least I have that to go on right now. And right now, I don't have a license to do it, and it makes me uncomfortable.
So if we approved the license at the next meeting, and you waited until May 1st to put up a sound barrier, how is that any different? You know that you have a license, it's just hinged on or pending on you putting up a sound barrier. Why can't you book entertainment? No, you know you have a license, it's approved.
Well, no, I don't think so. I think the approval that was put forth.
No, I'm talking about going forward. You're going to be here at the,
Okay.
You don't have to be here, but at the March 21st meeting, it's on the agenda to approve
The outdoor
entertainment license with outdoor extension.
Oh, yeah, if I get that, I'm happy.
But you won't get that until you put up the sound barrier. You won't physically get the outside entertainment license. It's going to be approved, and you'll receive it when you comply with the need for a sound barrier. In May, you can book all your stuff that you want because you know it's approved. Solicitor, can you, maybe you can,
I tried to explain that. We had a conversation Friday, but what the council president is saying is no different than any license that this council issues or any board of licenses. You get a liquor license, it's subject to building inspection, fire inspection, and so forth. So they're approving your entertainment license with the caveat that it's a 9 p.m. closing and a sound barrier. So I mean, there's really, I'm not sure that I understand your apprehension in this. When you're ready to have the entertainment, construct the sound barrier. they'll approve it and they'll issue you the license. I mean, the license is already approved. It just isn't being issued because you're not complying with the conditions of the license. It's very simple. I don't know why you, as I said on the phone, I think you're thinking too much about this. It's really kind of simple. You know, everybody gets a license, but if they don't comply with certain requirements, their license isn't worth anything. So they're approving the license, they're just not issuing it until you comply. Just like you would have to comply. Do you got a Class B license? Do you serve alcohol? Right, so when you get your Class B license, if you don't meet the certain criteria of a Class B, like the fire inspections, you can't operate. It's the same exact thing.
And then when I do, I get the license.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a
That's
clerical-
exactly
it's a
what's going to happen
clerical-
with this.
It's an administrative clerical procedure to issue a license. The approval will be given to you in March. So whenever you decide to activate that license, you just do the proper. You just put up the barrier.
Okay, it sounds like a change from kind of where we are right now or where we've been. So I think it would be acceptable if the language is there and I have the approval, and we're just waiting for the requirement to be met. Again, that's just different than the way it was interpreted before. I thought it was a stipulation, and I didn't know why it was taken away in December too, which just made me wonder what was going on.
We certainly tried to make it as simple and non-intrusive as possible. And I think that's why Councilman Ward didn't get into any specificity of what a sound barrier would be, because to give you some latitude, of course, you've got to meet some fire regulations, but that's with anything that you're doing in your business. So I'm sure you're used to that. Mayor, did you were signaling me?
I was just going to say, who inspects when the barrier goes up?
It would be the building.
Building
whoever
and
would,
fire.
Yeah,
just
building
like
and
we
fire.
do with the other outdoor restaurants.
Correct.
So if I'm understanding this, you approve it, you have your license to operate outside, you book all your entertainment, you know in good faith that you're putting the barrier up. When the barrier is up, they go out, they inspect, they make sure everything is fine, there's nothing flammable that's, too close to whatever, the tent, whatever is happening there, and it's issued. And I might be wrong, but it's almost like no different than if you do issue a license and someone doesn't comply, you can actually go take that license from them, and then then they cannot operate.
Right.
So it's whether he got the license in his hand when it was approved, or he waits until the barrier's up. It's the same situation.
Still approved.
As long as the license is approved, the entertainment is booked, you put the barrier up, your inspections are done, you got the thumbs up, and you're all set to go. If you did receive the license when it was passed, hypothetically, and then you began to have your entertainment and you did not have the barriers up, a license could be pulled.
Correct.
So it's two scenarios. One is getting the license ahead of time. One is waiting till the barrier is up, but the end result is the same. You still have to put the barrier up, get it inspected, whether you got your license here or you got your license here, right? As soon as it was passed or after the barrier was up. So I think it could go either way, actually, right? It's the same thing, because the license could be pulled.
The only difference is it assures us that you're going to be prudent in getting the inspections done, and it'll be consistent with what we do with every other license. When we pass all of the liquor licenses every December 1st, we pass 57 or whatever liquor licenses, but they're all conditional on meeting several requirements. And if any of those are not met, the clerk doesn't distribute them. And in fact, on December 1st, they'll close businesses down for not having a liquor license. So
I'm very familiar with that process. I understand that completely.
Process.
But in my mind, it changed. That's all. I didn't understand why it changed. I wasn't notified, and it raised a lot of questions. because things changed and for reasons I couldn't understand, and I still don't actually, what prompted it. That's fine. There are a few things, I don't want to get too much into the weeds here. You guys have had a long night here, but you talk about it like this is routine as far as an inspection. Which department does this inspection? Is there even a protocol for inspection of sound barriers? I don't know. I don't think so.
It's going to be with the fire department.
Okay. All right. So they'll inspect to make sure there are no safety issues and it's
Correct.
non-flammable material.
Correct.
Okay.
Since outdoor dining, it's been a little different, and the fire marshal has had to go out to make certain that whatever is erected is safe, and that people aren't getting trapped inside of something without being able to, escape if there happens to be an accident. So it's happened at other restaurants too. They just need to be certain that it's proper.
Yes. But really, we want this to be easy for you, and you do not have to be here at the next meeting. This is not on your radar, and know that as long as you have the information into the city clerk and she has it on the meeting for the March 21st agenda, it will be passed, and we'll make sure that I think you understand how we're going to proceed. And that's your license should be approved at the next meeting without any, reservation, but those two requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And sorry for the confusion. I assure you, everything that we do, we always try to take the best interest of not only you, but the neighbors, and we tried to make it as easy and as simple as possible. And maybe we were being too nice and made it too easy for confusion. So I'll apologize for this licensing board if there was confusion in your understanding of what we were trying to do.
Thank you. Are we all set for the application then for the second quarter? Is everything in order? I don't think I actually formally sent it in. That was.
I'll have to check with Annette tomorrow.
Yeah, it was just a small point.
Send it in?
Well, I don't think I did. And
no, but if you didn't, can you send it in?
Oh, sure, of course, yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you for a good presentation and well documented, so it gave us ability to follow it, so thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
22P10, a request of Human Services Director to address the City Council regarding winter homeless motel program utilizing American Rescue Plan's funds, ARPA.
Director Plays, mark this date down because Director Plays is addressing the council, and I've been anxiously awaiting this information, so thank you.
Thank you, Council President. So in my monthly report, I have, and I promise to be brief, I have put some of this information, but I want to expound a little bit so everybody knows what's going on with this, this program. So in December, the City Council allocated $70,000 in American Rescue Plan ARPA funds to be used for a winter sheltering homeless program at the Woonsocket Motor Inn. The program started on January 1st and is scheduled to end around March 31st. 10 individuals have benefited from this sheltering program. Those individuals that were placed in the program demonstrated acute, chronic homelessness and some with medical fragility. All of these individuals participating in the program have worked with me each and every single week. I meet with everybody, and the motel vouchers are signed and reviewed by both parties. So there's a motel voucher, and it is renewed every single week. So someone wasn't just placed there on January 1st and is staying there until March 31st. So we meet on a weekly basis just to make sure everybody's doing what they need to do to be participating in the program. I also work with these individuals finding permanent housing solutions. I remember having a conversation with the mayor and saying, if we can just have one person that benefits from going from homeless to a permanent housing solution, then we will see some success. Job search and job placement, and connecting them with services such as Shower to Empower, which is a program through Thunder Mist Health, which is a mobile unit that is at 450 Clinton Street, weekly from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, where individuals can go and speak to staff regarding health care and behavioral health care services, and they can even get a haircut while they're there. We know because we've sent people there, and they have gotten their haircut there. So just to give you guys an idea of what has been going on, and I promise you at the end of the period of the program, I hope to have more success stories of people that have benefited.
Thank you very much. And I just want to acknowledge for the public's benefit too, that I have called Director Plays several times on her cell phone to ask her about how things were going with the placement of the individuals, and I can't tell you how many times I've called and she's at the motor inn or on her way meeting with somebody who's looking for placement, and she has, this is no different than she always does. I'm not trying to say that this is that she changed the way she does her job, but it was just one more great tool that she was able to use. And what I'm going to do, just to make you aware, is that I'd like to bring back a resolution at the next meeting, just because we had a slow start. We had less rooms available because of an issue with the motor inn, but it's been fairly well resolved, and I'm looking, because we've saved money in the beginning of this process, I want to bring back a resolution. I've already spoken with Councilman Cournoyer and Councilman Ward regarding where we stand. I am looking to extend it out at least until April 15th, when the weather actually breaks, and we can do that, as I think it was Councilman Ward had figured, with what we've saved, we can use on the back end to extend it out. So if that's something that you can accommodate, I would certainly like to bring that forth.
I've actually tracked the spending up to this point, so
Good.
definitely have a better idea of how much has been expended so far.
If you can send that to all of us, and then I will put that resolution forward, and I think it's, as you said to the mayor, if we could help one person, that it was worth it. I think we've helped many more than one person. And with some of the stories that you've told me, I give you a lot of credit. I give the city a lot of credit. This was not just Linda Plays. It was
Absolutely.
everybody in the city that got behind this problem. So thank you for what you've done, and we'll hopefully get a solid approval at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on now to, I'm sorry, that's part of the, so unfinished business of the previous meeting.
22005, instructing the mayor through her administration to issue a request for proposal for equipment and site improvements to the skateboard park located at the Susan D. Menard Middle Schools.
Motion to approve?
Motion made by Councilwoman Sierra,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Gillette. Comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Cournoyer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilman Gillette?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Yes.
Councilman Ward?
Yes.
President Gendron.
Yes, and 22005 is approved. Second passage, 6-0. Moving on to new business.
22006, granting the construction of an exterior entrance exit way for 43 Railroad Street onto James Street.
Motion to approve for discussion.
Motion made by Councilman Ward, seconded by Councilman Gillette. Comments?
Council President,
Councilman Ward.
in reading through this ordinance, it seems they want to extend the stairway out into the sidewalk. However, what is this stairway giving access to within the building? Do we know? I'm sure we know. Can you tell us?
Yes, this will be to one of the businesses that will be occupying the building.
And is that the only entrance to the business that will be there?
No, it has to have two, so there's a second egress onshore. Where that is, I don't look at the plans every day, but I did look at this one.
And do we know whether or not one of those is handicap accessible?
Yes, they are. Not this one.
Not this one.
It's on the other side.
other one is.
Yes, sir.
And so this is really fulfilling a requirement for a second means of egress rather than being the primary entrance?
Correct. Well, it's probably going to be their primary because of the location where it is with walk-in. It's for one of the businesses there. They're already trying to license there.
So is the nature of this building such that the parking that's available off-street is there for tenants, or is it also for customers of any business that occupies the space?
The parking that's over there is for the tenants only. The developers here, that if you have any questions that...
Well, if you'd like to step up and, I'm just trying to get a sense of how much this entrance, I mean, simply put, the entrance will be used as a primary entrance if there's no parking lot parking available for customers of the business that would locate there, so there would be people parking on James Street. And I ask only because currently, with the volume of business that takes place in Ciro's, oftentimes people will not only park on James Street, they park on the sidewalk on James Street. They don't park in the street so much because it's a very narrow way.
At this location, there's curb in there, so they wouldn't be parking on the sidewalk.
Okay. I guess then it leads to the question of what's the expectation from the gentleman who's developing this property as to how this would process for people utilizing the business that would locate on the first floor, which won't have parking in the parking area and therefore have the customers coming in from on-street parking, I think, for the most part.
Can you state your name and address for the clerk?
Good evening. It's Leszek Przybyłko, Przybylko.
Oh, of course. Everybody knew how to spell it.
And so the idea came up actually during the planning, where we felt both city and ourselves that the building would be enhanced by having an entrance from, as appeared to be in front of the building, which is the main street / James Street site. And that was the objective actually wasn't necessary to improve the business, that was just a general idea of creating businesses on the first floor. There was no specific business that would have a need for an egress. So the creation of it wasn't necessary as of need, was more so from aesthetics to the building than necessity for the egresses. We had a lot of option at the time. That was decided about 6 months ago maybe even more so than a year. So just this is, I would say, I don't want to say, but the idea for it was, and again, not to purpose of making an egress, was more so developing and beautifying the site.
But if there's no parking for whatever business is there that's available in the parking lot on the opposite side of the building or behind the building, then any customers using and doing business with whatever business is there would necessarily be parking on the street. Correct? And I'm not trying to discourage this particular entrance. I just want to have a grasp of what kind of use this will have.
Well, so again, there is a bigger part of development of it. Part of it is actually acquiring different property for that. So that's just a lot of different, it's just a bigger conversation than that. The parking was never a requirement for commercial spaces. So we met the burden of compliance with residential parking, and there is no specific requirement, to my understanding, in the district for commercial businesses.
And one more follow-up question. You indicate that there's handicap accessibility into that floor. Is that handicap accessible area going to include handicap parking spaces designated for customers or only for residents' use?
Good question. So right now we have designated 2 parking for residents, but we do have more than requires, so we could designate additional parking for handicap accessibility for the business.
Only so that businesses, people
I understand.
would have access, otherwise they'd be parking somewhere where they couldn't get access to the building.
Yes, so yes, we do have it, and one of the parking spots actually is right next to the ramp that leads into to the second egress from.
That's at the rear of the building?
Yes, it is. On the side.
From Railroad Street, it's the rear of the building?
It's a side of the building, so the handicap accessibility would be opposite to the railroad street. So you could say it, yes.
Yes.
I always think of it as the front of the building to be James Street side.
Okay. All right. Those were some things I wanted to understand. Thank you.
All
Thank
set?
you.
Any other questions? I have one question. On the property now on James Street, there's a platform already erected in the middle of the building. Is that the decking that you're going to be using, or is that?
That is a formwork that we had started the construction, so that would be the actual placement once approved to continue with
So
the
that
construction.
is where it's going to go?
Correct.
Okay. And Mr. DeBrois, if this is using up, well, the sidewalk says it's 7.4, and the stairs are going to be 4 feet, is 3.4 still handicap accessible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we don't have to do anything with a railing or anything. At 3 feet is 3.4 feet is a normal passageway without.
It's more than what we need, yes.
Okay.
All
Thank
set.
you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments,
So, Council President,
Director?
this
D'Agostino?
is an ordinance, correct? So
Yes, it is.
This is the first, so I'm going to have Director Gillette and the fire chief also weigh in on this, just because of, this came about, like, the applicant came in for the permit after the erection of it, correct?
Yes, the platform that you see out there is erected, and we had to ask the developer to stop
Right.
construction until
But
the
this
process
didn't
was
go
done.
according to how we normally would proceed. So because of that, I put it on here for discussion, really, but I want the endorsement of the public safety director and
Okay.
fire chief. Because of the location, it's adjacent to the Ciro's parking lot, and that's a very congested street. So I just want everyone to sign off on it.
Okay. That's reasonable, but this will be first passage, so if there's no changes, then at the next meeting would be second passage, and we'll be fine. Okay. Any other comments?
Just one, Council President.
Councilman Ward?
And it's only because I notice it when I look at the pictures of the area. I presume that this is beyond the telephone pole, so there's no interference between the pole and the stairway in terms of blocking any access on the sidewalk?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Cournoyer,
Excuse me, yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilman Gillette,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sierra,
Yes.
Councilman Ward,
Yes.
President Gendron.
Yes, and 22006 is approved, first passage, 6-0.
22007, repealing the land use restrictions on the former Kendrick Avenue School property delineated within City of Woonsocket, ordinance 04042.
Motion to approve for discussion?
Motion made by Councilman Cournoyer.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Ward. Comments?
Oh, not this one.
Council President,
Councilman
did you want to say something, John?
Solicitor?
No, when it comes to 2207, I have an amendment to 2207.
We are on
That's what we are on.
2207.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Didn't you just say another number?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
Well, we said the ordinance at the end,
Oh, okay.
04042.
All right. So in section 1, it says the city council hereby authorizes the city to repeal. I think the better wording would be the Woonsocket City Council hereby removes and repeals the deed restrictions. So delete authorizes the city to, and add removes and repeals the deed restrictions. By your act, you're doing that. We don't need to authorize the city to do it.
Okay, and is that the only,
It's the only,
okay, so somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by
Second.
Councilman
Second.
Cournoyer, seconded by Councilwoman Gonzalez and Councilman Ward. On the amendment, comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Cournoyer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilman Gillette,
yes.
Councilwoman Sierra,
Yes.
Councilman Ward,
Yes.
President Gendron.
Yes, and 22007 is amended 6-0. On the main motion as amended, comments? Councilman Cournoyer.
I'm reluctant to support this until I have a better and clearer understanding from the Boys Club as to what they're going to do with this property. So,
I can answer that.
sure.
Mayor?
Okay. Yes, so we met with a developer last week who is interested in purchasing the building. He is looking to put in 15 one-bedroom apartments, and but obviously cannot do that without with this restriction. So there has been action. It's been listed. There's been a lot of activity on the building. There have been, I can tell you what I know. There have been parties who are interested in making residential units that have more than one bedroom. This particular investor that we did meet with is looking to put in one bedroom. We've had, I've been told that there's interest from some social service agencies who have looked at the building, and they wouldn't need to have this restriction removed, but in order for the one-bedroom units, it would need to be removed.
Well, then I would suggest, I would feel more comfortable if that's the case, because there's a whole range of outcomes that you just described from different parties that are interested.
Well, no, actually, so let me just clarify that. The party that came in, they're working with the Boys and Girls Club.
Sure.
And their offer has been accepted, subject to.
Well, thank you. I was just going to say, if they come to us with a P&S, a signed P&S, and it's subject to us taking this action, I feel better about that because there's a bona fide offer that's signed and everything, as opposed to just a discussion. Because I don't want to have, I would be very reluctant supporting this based on discussions, and then one of the other 2 or 3 options that have been considered or at least discussed or people have indicated an interest in. So unless the Boys and Girls Club comes to us with something that's documented, I don't have any interest in removing the restriction. If it's what you said and there's something to support it, a P&S of sort, that's a different story.
Council President,
Councilman Ward.
assuming Councilman Cournoyer, you're finished?
Oh, I'm done.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, set?
I'm done.
You said 15 units? 15 one-bedroom? I ask because there's actually 3 lots involved here. There's the lot that has the building on it that has the deed restriction. There's a lot next door to it that has a series of park spaces that I believe were used for the Boys and Girls Club. And then there's the 3rd lot, which is the playground area in the rear of the building that's currently zoned passive recreation, which clearly would need to be taken care of also if this were part of the program planned.
Right. So the right side facing the building would be parking, as would, if my memory serves me right, the left side, which now is like a little water area.
A water park, yeah.
Correct. And then we would need to decide what we'd like to do with that back parcel, because clearly
They're not interested in the.
well, they are, but, so we would need to take action on that, because if you're putting in 15 one unit, you're probably dealing with, 1 bedroom, I'm sorry, young professionals who are moving in, we would need to take action on that back lot and potentially offer it to the developers, because you're not going to have people wanting to live beside
owns
a
that?
jungle gym.
No, the Boys and Girls Club owns
The
it.
Boys and Girls Club does, but it was transferred from the redevelopment agency to the city, and then the city will confirm this, right? But from the city to the Boys and Girls Club to be used as a playground. But that was when it was a Boys and Girls Club. Now they're trying to develop green space, maybe like a gazebo, a place for the, tenants to have outdoor green space. So we would need to address that also. So would you like to meet the buyer? What would you like so we can move it forward?
I think if the Boys and Girls Club gets a signed P&S from, I'm regurgitating what Councilman Cournoyer said, but if they come back to us with a signed P&S and a description of what they're doing, because I know when you and I had talked, and it may have been a different developer, but you had said 13 units at that point. So maybe it's something different, but if we can get what their general plan is. I personally don't need to meet with the developer, but I'd like to know for sure what they're going to do.
Right.
And if in the P&S it's for 13 or 15 or, and I'll be honest with you, one of the things that I'm interested in hearing is I'm getting more and more concerned with micro units or micro lofts. So I'd like to hear if it's not micro lofts, that's something that I'm interested into, hearing about. But I don't really want to take the time to meet with the developer. I think that if the Boys and Girls Club can just send us what the plan is, and with a signed P&S, if it's conditional on this, and it's the right project, I'd certainly move forward with this at a later date.
Yeah, so I have a hard copy of the plans, but the director's saying we have an electronic version of the plans. So we can send the electronic version out so you can see.
Okay.
And then we can just have the Boys and Girls Club confirm that they have a P&S, more likely than not with a due diligence period within that
Sure.
P&S, although they're before the zoning board next week. Maybe we can make a package for the next meeting and address the residential part of the restriction.
Yes.
And the land in the back. So this way
Sounds like-
he can confirm that he has one,
That's perfect.
right? Okay.
Perfect, yes.
Okay.
So can we get a motion to
Mr.
table?
President.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Gillette, I'm sorry.
Not having served on the zoning board, does 15 one-bedroom apartments require 15 parking places? And is that lot that's connected large enough to have 15 parking
It
places?
requires 30.
And is that parcel of land large enough for 30 parking places?
I can tell you that on the zoning relief, they are not seeking for a parking variance. So they are meeting what they need for that property.
Good.
So it's big enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's good, thank you.
Okay. So can we get a motion to table, and then Mayor, you'll follow up with, okay.
Motion to table?
Motion made by Councilwoman Gonzalez, seconded by Councilman Gillette and Councilman Cournoyer to table 22007. Roll call, Madam Clerk, on a tabling, please.
Councilman Cournoyer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilman Gillette,
Yes,
Councilwoman Sierra,
Yes.
Councilman Ward, President Gendron.
Yes, and 22007 is tabled on a 5-0 vote.
22R21, authorizing the cancellation of certain taxes.
motion to pass.
Motion made by Councilman Gillette,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Cournoyer. Comments?
Yeah, this is for,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
just
Thank you.
for the public, this is a $39,041 abatement for a property that was, whose assessment was lowered by the Board of Assessment Review, and that reduction in assessment was not carried forward in 2021 in error, so this is just correcting that. So $39,041 abatement.
Thank you, Councilman Cournoyer. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, and 22R21 is approved 6-0.
22R22, authorizing the cancellation of certain taxes.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilman Ward.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Gillette. Comments?
Council President,
Councilman Ward.
similar to the last one, this is an abatement of $13,507.33, having to do with the transfer of the information from one system to the other, having an error in it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing, Councilman Ward, just
Yes.
just a question. It's never mind. No, I'm good. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Great.
Yes, thanks for answering that,
Glad I
Councilman
could
Ward.
take care of that for you.
Any other comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. 22R22 is approved 6-0.
22R23, granting permission to use city property.
Motion to pass.
Motion made by Councilman Gillette.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Sierra. Comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. And 22R23 is approved 6-0.
22R24, in opposition of Senate Bill S2244 and House Bill H7198, municipal employees arbitration.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilman Ward, seconded by Councilman Cournoyer. Comments?
Council President,
Councilman Ward.
I put this together when I saw that our local senator had been a co-sponsor of the Senate Bill 2244. We are currently under state statutes that require binding arbitration for police and fire, and I didn't think it was necessary for that authority or power to be extended to an arbitrator to bind us to contracts with municipal employees. The League of Cities and Towns is on record as opposing this legislation, and I believe the majority of the members of this council, and possibly the administration, would be in opposition to being bound by binding arbitration rules that are associated with other contracts already. I don't think it's in the interests of the city in any way, shape, or form. So I'm hoping we extend or deliver this message to the Senate and the House, telling them that we are in opposition to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Ward, and thank you for putting this together and extending the opportunity to co-sponsor. Any other comments?
Council President,
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
I would like my name added to this bill if possible.
Thank you.
Council President?
Councilman, are you all set, Councilwoman?
Yep.
Yep. Councilman Cournoyer.
So first, thank you, Councilman Ward, for paying attention to this stuff, and not only paying attention to it, but bringing forth a resolution to lodge our objection. And again, the biggest issue I have, and I think we're probably all in the same boat, is the notion of having unelected officials, arbitrators, impose upon us a binding contract where they're not accountable. These arbitrators are not accountable on election day, et cetera. And this is just it makes me crazy when our friends down at the General Assembly decide to micromanage local affairs. And this is not the first time this has happened, and I just wish it would stop. So I will absolutely be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And 22R24 is approved 6-0.
22R25, authorizing the mayor to purchase a portion of the property located at 67 Roy Avenue and 0 Gilson Avenue in Sauk, Rhode Island, also known as Assessors Plat 31, Lot 10, and Plat 30, Lot 23, respectively.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by
Second.
Councilman Cournoyer, seconded by Councilwoman Gonzalez, and Councilman Ward. Comments? Director D'Agostino, I just had one question. I was looking at the plans. Does this include the small piece on the corner of
Yes, it does.
the entrance? Okay.
About a quarter of an acre, roughly.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and 22R25 is approved, 6-0.
22R26, authorizing the mayor to allocate $500,000 of American Rescue Plan Act proceeds to secure a full-service retail grocery store or expand an existing food retailer.
Motion to approve?
Motion made by Councilwoman Gonzalez. Do we have a second? Then 22R26 dies for lack of a second.
You don't like supermarkets?
And we're done. I forgot we did 22R27. So with that being said,
Motion to
Councilman Ward.
adjourn.
Motion made by Councilman Ward. Seconded by Councilwoman Sierra and Councilman Gillette. To adjourn this meeting, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and this meeting is adjourned 6-0 at 9:55.